every who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. Could be that his head wasn't screwed on right. Could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart, his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And there, hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to keep Christmas from coming. Wasn't that nice the way that rolled out? Hey, welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am surprisingly still Chat Show. Welcome back to you and yours for joining us live. If you're joining us after the fact, what the hell? Tune in sometime. It's 3 o'clock on your Pacific Standard Time. Are we Daylight Time or Pacific Daylight Time?
We are
now?
Pacific Standard now. It's
Son
no,
of a
no longer
bitch.
daylight.
It's PST.
Yes.
And then check your local listings to do the math beyond that. Those of you watching in Ireland, the time is 1 a.m.?
It's always 1 a.m. in Ireland, no matter where you
It's
are.
an 8-hour difference.
Oh, it's only 8 hours?
I know, because my fans,
Oh, yeah.
all 2 of them,
Jamie's International.
were very excited that I gave them a shout out last week.
It's 11 p.m., you fuck, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that's how they phrased it. Okay, so first things first. A week ago, when we did the show, it was 79 degrees, I think, that Sunday here in Santa Monica, and we were all just laughing, not really, but feeling pretty damn happy that we were not in the rest of the country where the weather was destroying lives, as it were. And for all of that bad karma, it caught up to the Los Angeles area with just an annoying sort of Portland rain that will not stop. And so Los Angeles stops when it rains. It's the queerest thing you've ever seen. Not all of you. And it's annoying as hell.
I've seen some pretty queer stuff.
Yeah. I actually, whenever I think of the queerest thing you've ever seen, I always think of a friend of mine who was a paramedic for about 9 minutes. And they would show up at calls, you know, for emergencies. And one of which was one of many stops on the gay couple 911. And, you know, it's about tricks and treats at some point for some of the couples, heterosexual or otherwise. Man had a fish sticking out of his rectum. Hello, is a caller there? No exaggeration. Apparently it goes in and then the gill's coming back out, not so much.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah. It presented a problem.
Now, is this just a swimming accident?
No. As it turns
Fell
out,
into a koi pond?
there was 0 water involved.
Wow.
Yeah. Lying in bed, face down, not proud.
Maybe a water-based lubricant.
Yeah. There was something involved. The
Gay Couple 911 would be an awesome show.
Right?
It would be hard to make that happen. You'd have to make it happen. But it'd be a good show.
Oh, yeah. So, anywho, the weather has been sloppy wet, and the town has stopped. And there you go. The rest of the country, we can now empathize a little bit better with how horrible it's been, Midwest especially. So I hope all of you are safe out there. But join us live if you can at the various times I mentioned. Otherwise, enjoy us on the iTunes as you continue to do in crazy massive numbers, which we appreciate greatly. If you want to write to us, don't be afraid. Contacts at KevinPollock'sChatShow.com. Follow us. Write me now if you have a question, for hell's sake.
You really think they were afraid?
In the chat, I do. I often think they're afraid. They're just sitting home going, I can't. I can't.
so frightened.
Yeah.
Don't turn on that light. Kevin Pollak might think I'm going to write him.
Write us in the chat room or the Twitter at Kevin Pollak. Is easy enough. Jamie is putting together your questions right now for today's guest. And then you got the contact KevinPollock'sChatShow.com, which will lead us to the Ask Kevin questions. But first, got a call earlier today from Sweet Baby James. Yeah. Kind of blew my mind. Sweet Baby James? Doesn't make you think of anyone in particular?
James Taylor?
Correct. Continue. Small Jews for 400. Where are
nice,
you?
your birthday.
Where are you in this game? James Taylor called. Actually, I got a heads up about 5 weeks ago from Steve Martin in the form of an email. I'm going to drop more names. Give me a second.
Do you want a shovel?
And he said, I was talking.
It's not that Steve Martin.
No, it's not that Steve Martin.
Yeah.
This guy actually calls himself that Steve Martin. So you know it's bullshit. That's how you know it's wrong. He says, talk to James Taylor. He's doing a series of shows at celebrating the Carnegie Hall's 120th anniversary. And he's got an idea, and I said to him, you know who's right for that, Kevin Pollak. Nothing for you to do except wait. He's either going to contact you or didn't. So today, Master James Taylor reached out of the Mount Rushmore of show business.
Did his
Music.
voice sound like velvet?
His voice sounded like velvet. It was velvety and a nice rhythm.
Did he tell you that he's really not all calm and sweet inside?
What's inside, Sam?
Jamie knows what I'm talking about.
Is this a Simpsons reference?
Yeah.
You freaks.
Sorry.
Well, they had an ant problem up at the vineyard one season.
Hail ants, by the way. They're everywhere here today. Those of you wondering how Mahalo's doing.
Well, I, for one, salute our new ant overlords, and I welcome them, and I would like to let them know that as an internet personality, I could help in the gathering of others to toil in their underground sugar caves.
One of your two favorite moments from the series. Anyways, I'm going to finally play Carnegie Hall thanks to Steve Martin and James Taylor. That is the upshot. It's
I thought you were going to say something exciting like James Taylor's coming on this show.
well, that one step at a time. Sam.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
Martha's
not put
Vineyard.
You playing
village
Carnegie
in front of the
Hall,
cart.
old news.
Yes.
He's already committed to ruining the Carnegie Hall thing in an attempt to get him on here.
Yeah.
That's how hard he's going to press.
Yeah.
I'll let go of your arm when you commit. I don't care if those people are chanting your name.
That's exactly how the shit's going down too. So there you go.
Did you know he was going to call? Because I
didn't. I mean, I knew
so
that
the
it was a
phone rang.
possibility.
Oh.
And
But
it's-
when the phone rang, you didn't.
I didn't know who it was because it said unknown on the phone there, the blocking, which I haven't had too bad of luck answering calls from unknown.
Right.
So far, it's been people I knew
Yeah.
that were insisting on doing this for some
Right,
reason.
right.
Unknown. Anyway, but because it was unknown, it was unfamiliar voice. When he said, "Is Kevin Pollak there?" I answered, not too gruffly, "Who's calling?" May I say who's calling? And he said, "This is James Taylor." I said, and then I melted into butter. Yeah. Oh, James! Something like that. That might not have been exactly it. Anyways, April 12th, if you want to get your tickets. Now, he's doing a series of shows celebrating, as I said, 120th anniversary of Carnegie Hall. And this one is the Jazz Night, and I'm doing some sort of tribute to Lenny Bruce, apparently, along with something else. That
You better get working on that.
yeah, so I told him, have your assistant put together some stuff for me to do as Lenny Bruce, because I hadn't memorized his act in years. So anyways, that's pretty exciting. So April 12th.
Congratulations, Kevin.
Thank you.
I'm very
Well,
proud
yeah,
of you.
Yeah. Tomorrow, the crazy wait is finally over. Tomorrow, the $1 Million Money Drop debuts. If you're not watching this live, if you're getting this after the fact, then maybe you know how things went. Because I will tell you, The wait leading up to tomorrow of this 4-night-in-a-row launch has been lengthy, and I've done all I could to rise above the anticipation, anxiety, and possible disappointment, and have just embraced massive success that we'll be celebrating a week from now. Actually, I foolishly invited a bunch of people to the home for New Year's Eve, and we will know the answer by then. So I'm going to be incredibly drunk for 2 different reasons that night. Here's hoping it's for a celebration. Write to us. Let me know what you think, actually. I would love to know what you think about the $1 Million Money Drop, to be honest and forthright. I care. I do. And I may pay for this later. So let me know what you thought of the show. I just think it's a crazy fun game, and so I'm dying to know what you think. And then, if you will, tune into our special post-Christmas chat show on December 26th, right here at our regular time, Sunday, 3 o'clock.
Let me guess, nothing but Jews.
Yes, it's a table of Jews celebrating the birth of one of their own, who then went on to make horrible mistakes.
Who stirred the pot?
Yeah.
Ben Stiller?
Being a Jew wasn't good enough.
Gotta start your own thing.
Yeah, he said, "Oh no, we can do better than this," which so many of us have agreed since then that yeah, you can do better than this. But then he had books written about him in a much bigger way. But no, Billy Bob Thornton will be our guest on a very special post-Christmas chat show, December 26th. So tune in for that if you dare. And beyond that, Sammy, you're going back home for the holidays?
I am,
Christmas
sir.
with the Jews?
Christmas with the Jews.
But you have a little Italian faction now out in the Long Island.
Out in Long Island.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's going to do my first Christmas. Baby's first Christmas.
Is it really?
It really is. I've never celebrated Christmas in any fashion.
You were never in any relationship with a non-Jew at Christmas time?
No, sir.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we'd like to hear back about that.
I will come back with a full report.
We're going to need full stories in our first show back in January.
With pleasure.
Okay, good. All right. Jamal,
Yes,
are you looking forward to a little time off for the holidays? Well, what are your feelings at this point about it?
yes. I avoided the family again, which is nice.
You're a famous Christmas loather.
I'm a Grinch. Yes.
Yeah, you're a Grinch.
I love Halloween. I'm not a big Christmas person. I mean, it's because it's the crowds and the wrapping and the noise and I don't like it.
Doesn't seem
Pressure,
to be
disappointment.
and disappointment, yeah.
Nothing
it
but
all
disappointment.
leads to that. It all leads to
Everyone's
that
like,
moment
oh, great. I don't really want this.
yeah, now what? Re-gifting.
Yeah.
All right.
Not a fan. I like to bake though. I like cookies.
We had a lovely Thanksgiving. Here's hoping the Christmas ham is a treat, because this Jew is looking forward to it in a big, big way. And now it's time for us to answer your questions. We are 17 minutes from getting to our guest. This first question comes to us from @the_mutt. Dear Kevin, Shakespeare, ever done any? Ever wanted to? Ever been offered a role? I can think of several roles, actually, you'd be perfect for. Grumio or Grumio in The Taming of the Shrew, Dromio or Dramio in A Comedy of Errors, and believe it or not, Richard III. You may be able to tell by the way I've read your question, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, it finishes with thanks the mutt. No, I've not read a single play by this gentleman you call Shakespeare. I've seen it done by others and thought, there's something I can't do or will. So never say never, and yet here I go. Never. Our next question is from Holden Pike. Kevin, you were in Barry Levinson's Avalon. Was I? Wait a second. What is this? What's that?
I thought that was Mark Lynn Baker.
Yeah, I thought it was David Paymer. One of his great Baltimore pictures.
Those are both my bits.
That's why we did it in front of you.
Well, actually, Rocco's bit was the Marklin Baker.
Yeah, well,
and then
see-
I was the David Paymer.
Well, that wasn't a bit, though. He sold tickets to my show, letting people on the phone know that Mark Lynn Baker had come to town. That's
pretty good.
That's a genius way to make money.
They're like, ooh, Cousin
Who
Larry.
says no to Cousin Larry? Finishing the question. And I know you have returned to Baltimore over the years since then, doing stand-up comedy. Any favorite Balmer spots? Other than filming locations, did Barry take you and other cast members to any cool, out-of-the-way diners and such? Here's the second question from the same person. What's your favorite city you've ever been on location for a movie? Signed, a former Baltimorean living in the Pacific Northwest. Loved me the Balmer, specifically Obreki's, for the cracked crab right there on the table with the butcher block paper and the mallet. Oh man, Elizabeth Perkins and I literally went there twice, sometimes thrice a week to eat like cave people. It was one of the great cathartic eating experiences of my life. And Barry would call ahead of time. Say, yeah, I got a couple more coming in tonight. Put aside a couple of large. Make sure you get the large for them. And they always had the large for us, and it was phenomenal. So that's my great eating memory of the Balmer area. Other favorite location ever? Home. I could sleep in my bed. That was my favorite location.
What about the spot where all that stuff from The Wire happened? In Baltimore. Wasn't that your favorite spot?
To shoot at?
Yeah.
In the
In the Baltimore area.
Crackdown?
Yeah. Down in the projects.
I don't remember seeing that part of town. Barry never drove us past
Are
there.
you sure? I must have watched a different movie because I was fairly certain most of it was shot there.
In the Crackdown.
In the Crackdown.
Have you been there yourself?
No.
Shut up. Live show by Jason Dadaddy. Dear Chat Show, as a subscriber to both your Chat Show and the Nerdist podcast, I wonder if you would ever consider doing a live chat show in front of an audience like Hardwick does. I doubt you would have any problem booking a place like the Largo. Wow, this person's already done the legwork for us. And I am sure your fans would support that. Besides, you're already ripping off Charlie Rose. Why not rip off Actors Studio 2? P.S. Now that you have a show on Fox, maybe you could book Hugh Laurie. I don't think most of America has any idea that he started out in comedy. I don't know where to begin with this knucklehead.
Was that a question or a journal entry?
Yeah. That was a Dear Diary.
I think he already called up Flanagan, and you got to go like second week in February.
He's already booked it.
He's already booked it.
By the way, we were at Flanny's Largo last night for Paul F. Tompkins' annual Christmas show, and hats off once again to an amazing job. Well done. The annual Christmas show is spectacular. I'm going to do a live show from San Francisco, my hometown, you son of a bitch. First Saturday in February.
February the 5th.
February the 5th with, from
Mythbusters?
Mythbusters. We're having not Jamie, but Adam
Savage! Hey,
is our
that's
guest.
fantastic.
Yeah. So that would be the first time live in front of an audience. And it will be, I'm going to say, a test. Because this is something that I would now like to do once every 6 or 7
Oh man,
weeks.
does that mean I have to be on stage?
Ooh, yes.
Oh no, I do not care for this.
So excited.
Because, according to me, this is what I think I look like to everybody when I'm talking.
That's Jamie's self-image.
This is my self-image. Whenever I talk to people, that's what I think they say.
Oh, I love
Literally.
you, Punch. I love you.
I want these funhouse mirrors that everybody else has. They look in and feel like, oh yeah, I look great. I don't have those.
Yeah. It's amazing. You're in a town of people who are quite pleased with their appearance, and you have come from Pittsburgh with the opposite.
I have no self-esteem.
Therapy session begins now. And lastly, I guess that's it for the Ask Kevin. Did we have a graphic? Nope. Good. No reason to wrap one up with a graphic either.
Ask Kevin.
Thank you. Well done. Take the rest of the minute off. One of the fun games we play here on the show for these last 18 months or whatever it's been is the Larry King game. And I've received so many wonderful emails and tweets saying, now that Larry's going to be leaving and now he's left, will you be continuing to do the Larry King game? And I will tell you, with no coincidence to today's guest, my plan was always to continue doing it, much like in the year 2000 continued way beyond, in fact, the year 2000. So, Piers Morgan, is it?
Piers Morgan?
Is that even a name? Is that a thing? Suck it. No interest. Less than. Oh, lastly, to the previous question, not just the live show, but I'm the one, speaking of doing my bits, I'm the one who said I rip off Charlie Rose every week. And beforehand, we rip off Tom Snyder here. You left out that part, you son of a bitch. So every week we try to give away a T-shirt, a Kevin Pollak Chat Show T-shirt to a viewer who writes in their own Larry King game. This week it's going to John Schrank, because that's a name. And speaking of which, all right, so here it goes. Piers Morgan, my ass. He's named after a boat dock. Pansy-ass Brett isn't fit to lick my jockstrap. I know. I asked him. Pancato, Minnesota. Go ahead. Thank you. That's a T-shirt right there. I love the hatred in the tone. And so I thank you, and we'll... you know what? I think this gentleman has to write us back at contact@kevinpollakchatter.com to tell us his damn T-shirt size. I believe that's missing, sir, but thank you very much for your entry.
It had to be a correct size. You can just send him a T-shirt.
That's true. Send him one of the baby doll ones that we can't seem to give away.
The women's small because it doesn't even fit like my 13-year-old niece.
That's
so
the one.
small. Yeah.
Yeah. And now, with just 11 more minutes to go before introducing our guest. We're going to forego the Larry King clip, I think. I just can't believe so much time has already passed. Yeah. I appeared on the show right before Larry's, Parker Spitzer, right before Larry's last broadcast.
Sounds like a law firm.
It does. Parker
for
Spitzer.
Like occupational injury.
Juju and Jew.
Parker Spitzer. We'll take care of you.
So you're
Your finger made it into the bit, Andy.
you're hurt. You're injured. Is that it? You've reached Parker Spitzer for a reason. It's not too long. Well, God, 1993 may have been the first year of the Conan O'Brien
Yes.
outing. Yeah, that's when my guest today and I first met when I appeared on the show in its maiden year voyage, and there was a thing about a performer, a comedic dial, if you will, that we sense this. We sniff it out in each other, what have you. And it's either a competitive thing happens to most comedians or an immediate sort of, I want to just listen, I want to hang around this gentleman and he can say whatever he wants and I'm here to be his audience. And that was the sort of sense I had about today's guest. He and I then worked, once he left the Conan O'Brien show, we worked together on a motion picture that I want to tell you. Well, I'll wait till he comes on. We'll discuss it together.
It's nice you
But
call it a motion picture.
Yeah, it was. Well, because there are moving images, technically, technically speaking.
That is true.
But I've been a fan for, I guess, 17 years since we first did that first show on the Conan O'Brien show. And I am thrilled, honestly, to welcome him to the table now, Andy Richter. Hello, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Honest to goodness.
Thank you very much.
So let's talk, first of all, about, we put together a little dossier. Your birthday falls 2 days before mine. How did you enjoy having a birthday so close to the Halloween? Because I'm guessing you had a couple of Halloween-themed birthday parties, maybe?
No, because I grew up kind of in the country and nobody knew to throw themed parties. There was no competition. You know, there definitely seems to be like a competition. Like here, if you have a birthday party, you have to do something. You have to have a pony or a taco truck or something, or it seems like you don't love your child.
Or a pony and a taco.
Or you love, pony tacos.
But in the country, it was Andy, happy birthday,
who gives
don't
a
milk
shit?
the cow.
Yeah, it's your birthday, all right. Well, why don't you invite 10 kids over? Okay, we're going into the woods. See ya. You know, and that was your birthday party. You know, I mean, there was cake, but there was no. I don't remember ever going to a birthday party like where there was any kind of entertainment or hats or horns or anything. As a kid, it didn't. I just don't think it happened.
And
I mean, I remember going to birthday parties. Sure. It was just like what you would call a play date now with,
Right.
8 or 9 kids, so.
But you don't know it, so you don't miss it.
Right, exactly. No, I never felt cheated.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, now that you mention it, those fuckers.
How far out in the country were you?
Well, I grew up about 70 miles west of Chicago, but minus Cubs games and Bears games, and the occasional, once every 3 years museum trip, we might as well have been 200 miles,
Right.
For as much as being close to the city meant in terms of
Right.
an urbane lifestyle.
Sure.
So yeah, no, but now it's kind of spread. But when I grew up there, I think there were 2 stoplights in town.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and like when McDonald's opened in our town, it was, I mean, people. My brother and I went there before 6 a.m. to be there when McDonald's opened because it was such a big deal.
And I'm guessing
in
you
our
weren't
town.
the only ones there.
No,
before
it was
6 a.m.
yeah. There were probably 100 people there waiting.
At
for
5:50
McDonald's.
a.m.
Yeah, McDonald's. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and for and like pizza, for many years was Pizza Hut, or the bowling alley. The bowling alley had pretty decent pizza, but that was it.
Right.
So I still like have a soft spot for Pizza Hut pizza and that weird chemical crunch in the crust, because I grew up with it.
You're
Yeah.
not wrong.
Yeah.
It's the same with me.
It's like
Yeah.
at
It's
an
'cause you grew up
airport,
with
like,
it. My
all right,
family
a
still
personal
gets
pan
it.
pizza, that sounds all right. Just something about the crust. It's like,
It's like golden, greasy,
yeah,
crispy goodness.
but it also has a plasticiness that's not unpleasant,
Not unpleasant.
Yeah.
The non natural
Yeah, yeah.
ingredient that's in
The
there.
fakeness, yeah.
So, is there any sense of someone catching your eye at that early time in your life in terms of comedy or in movies or television? Is there anyone that's
Oh well, definitely. When I was a kid, my folks divorced when I was young, and I lived with my grandparents and my mom. And the Carol Burnett show was a big deal. Watching the Carol Burnett show, and I do remember mimicking Tim Conway, the old man
Yes,
character.
yes.
And it was when it was time to go to bed, I would do the Tim Conway character, and it would just basically, everyone would laugh, and it would just be longer. It would just prolong having to go to bed.
it was a tool?
Yeah, but I don't ever. It didn't seem like, oh, I'm going to be funny for a living. I don't think that really
No.
really crossed my mind.
Just to
in
get
any way.
attention or
Yeah,
a
yeah.
slower trip to bed.
And it was just, and also my family's funny. It's like there's always been a priority put on making people laugh and having fun.
From all 3 siblings?
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm like, I have relatives. My dad's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
I have an aunt that's fun. Everybody's got a good sense of humor. So, joking is good. I mean, a lot of it's completely sick and neurotic. The joking is all destroying each other constantly, like constantly tearing at each other and big.
In a funny way.
Oh, in a hilarious
In a
way.
passive-aggressive,
Yeah.
Thinly veiled
Right, exactly.
attempt to say you're
Yeah.
shit.
So like when I started getting into comedy, like with people who were also wanting to do comedy, and they can play real rough, like especially when you're young and you're starting out. People really, and there were people like in one particular improv group that I worked with in Chicago, who would just, it was like the sport. It was like the game was to just everyone constantly poking at the deepest possible buttons. And I guess I was suited because I was like, oh, I know this game. I know this game. Oh, you mean like that girl with a limp? I'll call her Limpy.
Because that's hilarious.
Yeah, because it's what everybody's thinking.
Yeah.
And of course it's sick. It's sick nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
In fact I was just talking to my mom on the phone, and she was saying that my younger brother's wife gets mad at my younger brother because he talks so terrible to my mom. And my mom said, "Oh, and it's just it's just the game we've had going. He talks terrible to me, I talk terrible to him." And I'm sitting there thinking, God, what a fun sounding game. Wow, that's at the time when I lived there, it seemed like, oh, that's a legitimate mode of communication. And now that I'm a father myself, I feel like, I bet you there's probably better ways to communicate.
Have you not passed that on to your children?
No,
the game of
no.
You idiot, get your toys.
Because my mom will still come over and she kind of teases them, and they're like, "What the? Like, what are you picking on me for? You're my grandma," and
Because it's still hilarious. to
Yeah,
her.
yeah, it's still funny to her.
Man.
So I mean, and I tease her too. I could fall back into it pretty easily.
Whatever the family sense of humor is, I think it stays with you forever. You just
Yeah.
evolve,
Right.
while those who stay in the hometown don't find a need to evolve.
Right.
Quite
Right.
frankly, it's a comfort
Yeah.
level. One of the reasons you should probably not go home again, according to the saying, is when you evolve and it no longer makes sense. And then trying to explain that, it just goes over wonderfully.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You got into sports. I noticed you played football.
Yeah.
And were you probably tall for?
Yeah. Yes, I was the larger, in the larger kid
Right.
size.
Growing up in this neck of the woods, still larger than your average.
In Illinois, yeah. I mean, I was like I quit football at one point because we had a new coach who wanted everyone to come in and weight train and run wind sprints for 2 hours all summer, 2 hours, 5 nights a week, all summer. And I was just, I'm not fucking doing that, you know. And he had told, it was a meeting at the end of a school year, and when he was coming in, he said, "We're gonna do this 5 nights a week," and he goes, "And of course, legally it has to be voluntary, but I think you all know what voluntary means." And all the guys that I was sitting around with go, "Ha ha 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 ha." Which is, you know, I was like, what are you laughing at? The guy just stole your summer, you know?
Yeah.
And so I went home and I told my folks, and they said, "You're going to quit, aren't you?" Because I'd already decided, like, I'm not going to play. And I didn't have that whole
Killed.
Lord of the Flies kind of ability to switch into, like, the most important thing is to stop that man with that ball.
Yeah.
You know, I could never. It's like I liked the game, but I didn't have the
Right.
killer instinct that I think you kind of need, you know?
Now, is it because the standing tall above the nonsense, as it were, is that what led you to be crowned king at the prom? Do you think?
No, I always look at. To me, what being prom king meant was being 6th most popular, because if you were on the homecoming court in the fall, you couldn't be on the prom court. So that's what I thought.
You did math.
Great, yeah.
You've done actual math.
There were 5 on the homecoming court. Unless maybe I really came on strong after the new year. I really upped my popular ante.
You think you turned a corner around February?
No, I get. You know, I was popular. I was.
Was it the humor? Was it the
Yeah.
charm? Was it the?
Yeah.
Did you have a steady at the time?
No, I was.
Was it a
I was
king-queen
terrified
combo?
of
Because
girls.
sometimes it's the king-queen combo.
There was a king. There was a girl named Michelle Englehart was the queen, but we were not at the prom together.
Right.
But no, I did not have a steady at the time. I didn't really. I didn't really have a steady girlfriend in high school. I had like tortured friendships with girls that had boyfriends. That was my mode.
I
for a
think this
long
befalls
time.
the funny guy a lot.
Yeah.
Regardless of anything else.
Yeah.
If you, by the time you get to your senior year, if you've just developed a certain kind of sense of humor where you were pretty much destined to be class clown in my case.
Yeah.
But whether it's the yearbook or it's just an understanding among your fellow classmates who, when you run into them, will say, "We all knew you were going." You know.
Yeah.
We all didn't know much else.
Right.
Is what they should be saying.
Yeah.
But
That's all we knew.
Yeah, that's all we knew is that you gonna be
You were
funny
gonna
for a
be
living.
funny.
But it seems to befall the class clown, the funny tard, to have that relationship with girls where you're almost a shoulder to cry on about the troubles they have with their boyfriend.
Right.
And man, is that fun all through school.
And then as they're crying on your shoulder, they realize you have an erection.
And that's awkward.
Yeah.
Because you've been
And
coughing
they know what's going on. You're like, sorry.
Yeah. I thought you were putting your head on my shoulder,
Yeah,
man. I
yeah.
was supposed to grab your breast.
Right.
Women's
That's
tears
not-
turn you guys on too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Women's tears?
Yeah.
That's the thing for you? Yeah.
Don't think it was any easier being the funny girl, because it wasn't. Because no one would date me because I was a weirdo.
But would the guy cry on your shoulder about his girlfriend?
No, guys just wouldn't be like. I either
No
had like
Taylor
guy
Swift
friends. It would
songs
be,
going on?
No. Yeah, that's another thing. Don't get me started on that song. I take my glasses off and I'm hot. They look the same.
You also have to shake out your hair that's been tied up.
Yeah, you got to go full.
Yeah.
So, and then after your tour as king, after your reign,
Right.
surprisingly, not too many people died at the hands of
No,
your court.
I was benevolent.
You were a benevolent
The
king.
whole summer that I was in charge. I mean, there were some nitrous-related deaths at the coronation.
Sure. Accidents.
Yeah.
All
There's
accidents.
always whippet deaths at coronations. No, that was not just a nice sending off into the world.
And how did you feel about that? Did your world get smaller suddenly? I know there's a lot of times a transition after the local life of school,
Yeah.
junior high and high school, to the university.
Yeah, well, I was definitely happy to move on from living in a small town, and I wasn't even aware of it. I mean, I come from a long line of depressive fucking weirdos anyway.
I see.
But on top of that, I also was just not a small town. I'm not a small town person. I'm actually kind of a city person, and it took moving to the city and going like, oh right, this is why I've been miserable. Because they were definitely, as I got into 15, 16, 17, I just was like really unhappy where I was, and it wasn't anybody's fault, or it wasn't the town's fault or anything. And then when I moved to, it wasn't even. And then the first 2 years of college, I went to University of Illinois, Big Ten school, full Midwestern college experience, and even that was kind of. It was bigger, but it was kind of like and I definitely went to one of the things I went to U of I for was that it was a big school.
Yeah.
Like I did not want to go to some small little liberal arts college in Iowa.
Did you need great grades for the?
They had to be okay because U of I is pretty good school.
That's what I was thinking.
And my grades were pretty good, and I tested well. We did the ACT, not the SAT. It's a Midwestern. I think it's just probably some. So I'm sure that no. I think it's probably just there's some competing testing service.
Right.
It's just about like who your subcontractor is. And so we did I don't even think I took the SAT. But no, it wasn't. I mean, I was a good student and I had pretty good grades.
Right.
But I just went there for like liberal arts stuff, and it wasn't. After my second year there, I went to film school in Chicago.
Right.
And that's when I really felt like. Well, my life was kind of starting out in that small town and being like, I don't really feel like I fit in, even though I was popular and liked people and they liked me. And then it was going to college, a little bit better, going to film school, a little bit better. But then, like when I started with improv, then I really felt like, oh, these assholes are just like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what the problem's been.
The like-minded.
Yeah, no, it really was. Then I really felt like a peer group that was,
Right.
and
You were.
it was validating too to want to do this for a living and have other people wanting to do it for a living, and then taking classes and doing shows and not even knowing, anybody at that time who had some sort of plan about, well, I'm going to get on SNL, or who would vocalize it. We were like,
Shut up.
how the fuck are you going to do that?
Yeah.
That's like making paper airplanes and talking about how you're going to be an astronaut. It's like,
Yeah.
good luck. I don't know how you get from this to that, but okay,
I'll have
whatever.
what she's having.
Yeah.
You idiot. I like to bring in our fine folk from around the world, as it were.
Oh.
How much fun was it to work on Mighty B? Everyone involved, from writers to voice actors to artists, just really seemed top-notch.
Yeah, it was great. Mighty B, excuse me, was a Nickelodeon animated series that Amy Poehler created with another husband and wife team, Cynthia True and Eric Wise. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But they created this show, and it was like a what they find to be unusual in animation, a girl-centric show.
Uh-huh.
It was featured a little girl character, very much of kind of Amy's repertoire, like a lot of characters that Amy's played. It kind of just this goofy, exuberant joie de vivre.
Mm-hmm.
But it was amazing. They were really talented. The whole thing was all really talented comedy people, and it did really well. But it was the victim of fickle network people moving on to animated shows with movie tie-ins that just become money factories.
Right.
You know.
What year was the Mighty Bee?
It just was canceled not a year ago.
Yeah.
So it's been ongoing for the last couple of 3 years. And I'm also on the Penguins of Madagascar.
Yes, you are.
From doing the part in the movie, I do it in the TV show too. And that's that's kind of one of the shows that is the new model for Nickelodeon as a movie tie-in show, you know.
Right.
So Mighty Bee.
How do you enjoy the voice stuff?
Oh, it's great. It's fun. It's really. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to get paid to go make funny voices. It's ridiculous. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it seems like the ground floor of silliness.
Yeah.
In terms of no inhibitions whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because it's just my voice.
Yeah.
And I've never felt so fearless.
Right.
I mean, at some point, I see this thing in actors in a movie or something, and they get to a level, and I think, yeah, I'm never going to be able to get on that elevator. It's never going to be that way for me as a performer.
Right. You mean just in terms of like top-notch quality, you know, like your amazing technician actor types, you mean?
A level of not holding back or no inhibitions.
Oh.
A level of abject freedom that you see very few performers get to because they are 100% and purely fearless.
Yeah.
At some point, there's always a little thing held back because your brain can't let itself go.
Right.
So I felt it wasn't until I did any kind of voiceover work that when they threw something at me, I was 100% fearless.
Able to just do it. Yeah.
And that was been your experience as well? I mean, when you're on stage improvising, you have no fear. There's no other way to survive.
Yeah, not really. Well, you're thinking. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say there's no fear. You just have managed to stuff the natural fear of getting on stage in front of people and not knowing what you're going to say. You just stuff it into a box.
But your mind has to be open while you're improvising in the moment.
Yes.
There's no room.
It certainly doesn't help to be afraid, but I think that it's still. Well, now when I was comfortable improvising, when I was doing it a lot, it definitely was. I mean, I felt at that time like my brain was a muscle. Like I was ready to go on stage at any time and just do, not by myself, but with a group of people and do an hour of like when we were doing really good work. And now when I do it, I'm fucking scared shitless.
Really?
Yeah.
Because the muscle's not been worked out?
The muscle has not been. I can get up and just tell stories and just bullshit like. The UCB does a long form called ASCAD, and there's a monologue portion, and there's people that do the scene work, and the scene work is so much harder for me than to just stand up and, because now from being on the Conan show, just blah blah blahing, I feel like, oh yeah, I can do that, but having to remember the story and pull the right detail out of the story and switch it just a little bit and see how you could, how could I be that? Oh, I'll be in a store where they're selling that. It's got to be so fast. And the guys like the UCB guys, Matt Walsh and Matt Besser and Ian Roberts and Amy Poehler. Although Amy doesn't play as much as she used to.
There's a
But
lot
these
of new
guys,
faces
they
there.
still, yeah, there's a lot of new faces there. But these guys, like Walsh and Besser, I just saw them. Comedy Death Ray did a Christmas
Right.
pageant bazaar thing, and they just came out and they were just gonna. They just came out as like now they do a lot of crowd work, and they came out as George Bailey and the Clarence, the Angel, and just basically went around in character. Insulting the audience with the,
Sure.
different people and stuff, and like.
It was magic.
Yeah, and it was just so fucking great. It was just amazing, and everything had a setup and a payoff, and
Yeah.
these guys are just now they're fearless because they're just comfortable with like making things happen.
But I think a big part is what, like you said, if you're playing tennis 4 times a week
yeah, and with good players too. Yeah,
with better players,
yeah.
then there's no stopping your game from
Right,
improving.
right,
It's just mathematically what's going to happen.
right.
My dinner with Andy came from. That was before you joined the Annoyance Theater.
Well, I don't know what my dinner with Andy is.
Oh. Apparently it was, allegedly rather, my dinner with Andy was either a sketch or something you did as part of an improv group. No. That's denied. That's 100% denial.
I don't have a recollection.
Let's
There was a my
let's
dinner
go to the
with
video.
Andre.
Let's go to the video. This is you doing, we have nothing.
Oh. You really wanted to watch some TV now. Don't tease me like that.
But it was from the Annoyance Theater
Yes.
that the live Brady thing came?
Yes.
Right.
In Chicago, I started with Improv Olympic.
Right.
Some of us broke off to form our own group called the Comedy Underground. And then, which that's such an awful name.
It really
It was because
is.
it was in a basement of an Italian
Oh, now it's
restaurant.
worse. Now it's worse.
It was terrible, but
thought you were
the
going
best
with-
part was the naming.
Sure.
The naming.
Meeting?
Meeting, which involved lots of drinking, and I just remember one guy, I think it was Kevin Dorff, was drunk and was going like, "We should just be the fucking Cougars." And of course, it's like that's the stupidest thing ever. But by the end of the meeting, I was going like, I really do kind of feel like we should be the Cougars. It's like that sounds pretty good to me. The Cougars, and just insist on it.
And this was, of course, way before that was attached to a woman.
Oh,
a
yeah,
woman in her late 30s.
No, there was
This
no
was just straight up.
connotation.
There
Yeah,
were
this is
cars
just-
called a Cougar.
Right.
And there, yeah.
We just wanted to, give across the idea of an improv group that had the ferocity of a wild cat.
Yes.
I don't know.
Always funny, by the way.
Yeah.
Cougars.
Yes.
Always make me laugh. As
But,
they're ripping into a gazelle.
But so we were in the Comedy Underground, and then the Annoyance Theater was a theater that a guy named Mick Napier had started with some other people. And yeah, the Brady Bunch came out of that. The Brady Bunch was actually the only thing that theater was sort of devoted to the idea of creating, writing a text for a comedy show or to create a comedy play, and writing the text as improvisation, so that a group of 7 or 8 people would get together and they'd hold rehearsals and they would build this thing themselves, and that the text was never anywhere but in their heads. I mean, as the shows went on, somebody had to write them down to kind of tell people what to do if they were fill-ins for parts or stuff. But the Brady Bunch was just something that Faith and Jill Soloway were these sisters in Chicago. Faith was a piano player at Second City, so she had an improv music background. And Jill was in kind of the comedy scene there. And Jill now is a writer. She's written for 6 Feet Under and a dozen other things. But they had this notion, actually, when it was based on she was then my future sister-in-law, my wife's sister, Becky Thayer, did this amazing Marsha Brady impersonation. And I think it was Jill that said, we should do Brady Bunch episodes on stage and have adults play the parts and have them try and mimic it exactly as they did it. And then they put it together to do it at the theater. When I first heard about it, I thought it was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard of, and who gives a shit about that? And then I watched the first one that they did, and it was
Magic.
about as hard as I've ever laughed. It was just so funny to see these people
Yeah.
doing the Brady Bunch. And it was also, and then it timed out very nicely too with kind of there was a 70s nostalgia, you know, like disco's back kind of bullshit. People are wearing bell bottoms, ironically.
Yeah. That doesn't happen now.
And
by
it
the way.
just, fashion. Let's not get me on. I started on fashion.
Or ironic clothing choices.
Yeah. But
I'm
it just,
wearing a poncho.
Nice. That's why I love her.
or just a really ill-fitting shirt. Could be that.
I convinced her it was a poncho. Quiet.
Oh no, it's a lovely poncho.
It's raining.
I love it.
But so we did this Brady Bunch, and it became a huge thing. You know, a huge hit. It was on Tuesday nights, and it became kind of the cash cow for the theater.
And ended up having a New York run.
Yeah.
A huge New York run.
Yeah, it was at the Village Gate. We were there for 7-8 months, I think.
Right.
And then we actually it became where it was playing in New York and LA simultaneously. There were 2 casts of this crazy fucking Brady Bunch show, you know?
Yeah.
It was so popular at the time. So I came to LA with it, and that's kind of I had gotten an agent through the show in New York. You know, and I certainly was not the star of the show. I was just Mike Brady, and I was fully aware that when an agent expressed interest in me for saying, "Honey, I'm home," that like, oh, I think maybe it's more about the fact that the show's popular. But I got this agent, and she started sending me out on auditions, and then she had a relationship with somebody here in LA. So when the show came to LA, I was one of the few people of our group that had at least a contact. And I went in with this other agent, and they started sending me out on stuff. So I very quickly realized, like, because I thought someone would have to come along and go like, wow, you're really talented.
No.
No, they don't know. Just be involved with something that people are talking about, and like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like,
So you
and
got.
I don't blame it. It's a very human mechanism to like, I don't want to be the first one to put my money on something.
Yeah.
But like, oh, a bunch of people over there thought that thing was good, and this guy's from that thing. All right, sure, you can go over there and try and do something because somebody else said you were okay.
If it were still that pure, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now a lot of there's some people over there that think you're great. Seems to work more and more as a finger pointing option later when things don't work out.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
allows
yeah.
an executive to go. But they said
Yeah.
I didn't. They
I think it's always been like that. Yeah. It just
big-
gets, yeah. Things happen. And I think things fail so quickly now.
I'm curious. One of the first jobs you got as they were sending you out in Los Angeles. And
Yes.
that was, of course, playing a victim of John Wayne Gacy.
Well, now that was actually back in Chicago.
It was back in
And that
Chicago.
was back in Chicago, and
Oh.
that was because Gacy's
Yeah.
he's a Chicago, you know, a real
Moment of pride.
Yes, civic pride, a lot of civic pride wrapped up in him. And that also is Jill Soloway. She also worked in production. She
Hard
was
Copy?
No. No, she worked as a freelance production coordinator in Chicago in the film business. And I was working in the film business too. I was making my living at that point, aside from waiting tables sometimes, but working on television commercials, being PA, and you know, as when I stopped working it, I was doing mostly props. I had gotten kind of into props, and I had to make a definite, like, I don't think I'm going to be a prop guy. I think I'm going to try and
There was
really-
always a sense of I'm doing this until.
Well, I knew first of all, I knew I was going to work film and television somehow.
But I mean, as a performer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna try. Yeah, kind of. I mean, I didn't have any set real thing, and I mean, in looking back, it was like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, because I just, you know, I stopped. I wasn't making a ton of money working in film production, but I was making a living.
Sure.
And then I stopped, and I wasn't making a living. I mean, in one sense, it was good. I lost 30 pounds because I was broke. And I'd live on like one burrito a day.
Somebody write down this diet that Andy
It was
just
like
suggested.
one Guatemalan burrito a day.
Yeah.
And
For
but
1995.
plenty of money for cigarettes and booze.
Don't kid
you know.
yourself.
Yeah,
Always.
I mean, you got to have the basics, the staples. But so yeah, it was crazy. I don't know. I didn't have any plan. I just kind of, I don't know. I wasn't afraid of that point, and I think that is due. I do have to credit my mother with that, of kind of always giving very much making it aware that I should do what I wanted, that I shouldn't
Yeah, that's
just
nice.
knuckle under.
That's the kind of unconditional support
Yeah.
that you hope for.
I mean, when I left the Conan show, she maybe was like, "What are you doing? Wait a minute, what?" Then that,
Yeah.
the whole do whatever you want thing was, but that was only momentary. It was only momentary.
Yeah.
It was my dad who, when I told him I was leaving the Conan show, said, "Well, that's great. If you want to come back, they'll take you back, won't they?" Like,
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks for the vote of confidence.
Well, thanks for saying it instead of just thinking it.
Right.
There's something to be said for that, by the way.
Yeah, well, there's something to not be said for it, too.
Keep your fears to yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's jump around a little bit, because as sweet of a gainfully employed job, a playful home that Conan was for you for a number of years when the show started, and also having to go through the launch of it, all the pressures of that to finally get to a point of comfort, relaxation, total support, and success. You'd gone through all of it.
Yeah.
Did that inform the decision more? A sense of this journey, for me, in terms of the highs and lows and the battles fought and the battles won and lost, has reached a point of now it's just going to be repeating, right?
Yes, definitely. That was definitely an aspect of it. Also, too, it was also basically to challenge myself, because to have stayed Conan's sidekick just indefinitely, it's like a personal issue that I have with myself in terms of my passivity or my activeness.
Right. It
And
didn't
at
feel
that
very
point,
proactive.
It felt like I had gotten into, like I hadn't made anything happen. I just made it happen that I got into this thing with these people, and then got in a vehicle, and and I mean helped, but I certainly wasn't driving, or So I wanted to see. I felt very fortunate, but I also wanted to see what happens if I take this good fortune and try and push it a little bit on my own and see what happens.
Yeah, because as much as you think in that position, I imagine, or you have conversations with your representatives, I'll be able to do other things while I'm doing this job,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, of course you will.
Yeah.
In fact, you're just raising your level, your profile.
Right.
We'll get all kinds of offers, and you'll go work on these other things while you're doing.
Right.
It's, for the most part, 5 days a week with a couple of weeks off here and there. It is completely and utterly more of a full-time job than almost anything else in show business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't
because
think,
you can't. You're going. It's like
there's no summer off.
It's a school year plus. I mean, and you can't. People would ask me, because definitely a part of it was I didn't have any concrete plan. I definitely knew, because of just the covetousness of show business and the powers that be in show business. If there's something hot or something that's popular or successful or whatever, and people come off that thing, they got to be snatched up.
Right.
And it doesn't matter, because I saw so many writers, say like people that I knew, mostly acquaintances, nobody that I really knew in particular, that wrote for a season or two on one of the very popular sitcoms at the time, the big money machine sitcoms, and then they get a $3 million
yeah.
holding deal or development deal. And so at the time there was a lot of that stuff happening. Now I don't know that I would have made the same choice.
Well, now those things dried up years ago.
Yeah. But they were just tossing money around. So I knew that like the first year would be okay. And I got in a bunch of movies, right? Like Frank McCluskey. I could never. That slingshotted me my leaving Conan right into Frank McCluskey. But that was at the same time that I, I did a ton of, like 6 or 7 movies really quickly.
Yeah, you did.
Right after I left the Conan show.
But let's not race past.
And not many of them were.
Let's not race past Frank McCluskey
Yes.
so quickly.
Okay.
Because I should remind folks, since no one could have possibly seen this film,
It was never in a theater, was it?
nor should it have been.
Yeah.
It should never actually physically be. Let's be that
That's
specific.
pretty harsh.
It is. Tracy Morgan and I played twin brothers.
Right.
So let's start there.
Sure.
With the funny.
That is pretty funny because
Yeah.
you guys are not anything alike.
I'm sorry?
You're not anything alike.
It seems weird that you would. So,
Racist.
yeah,
Jesus.
towards
That's not what I meant.
Jews.
Whatever.
He doesn't. Yeah, Tracy doesn't seem Jewish at all. So we're twin brother lawyers. Now it's funnier, right? Crazy way funnier. Like ambulance chaser lawyers. Not even Harvard good kind of lawyers, because that would be less funny.
Right.
So and I remember being on the set, and there was one scene where we come up to a restaurant table, and you're at the restaurant table, and it was the only moment I think we had together in the film.
Yeah.
So it was the only time on the set where we sort of said, hi, how are you, how's it going? And just sort of catching up on life and whatnot. But I had a sense about my own place in the sun at the time, thinking, I don't know that Andy or Tracy or I will ever be allowed back into show business after this movie is. And it wasn't that I read the script and thought, this is the worst piece of shit ever. The script was really funny to me when I read it. And they were telling me that this guy that was going to play this part had a certain level of Jim Carrey that was explosive.
Yeah.
And there was a chance, it was a roll of a dice that the financiers were taking, that this kid, if done correctly. So when I remember reading the script thinking, if this were done by Jim Carrey,
Right.
this thing is crazy funny.
Yeah.
So if they're telling me this guy's the next Jim Carrey, all right, we'll take a roll. Roll the
Right,
dice,
right.
see where it goes. For you coming off the Conan and wanting to be launched into doing films,
Yeah.
part of the plan anyways, and like you said, it seemed to be a series of from one film to the next over a 3, 4, 5 year period. And then there were several television things involved as well. So I don't know if you had a sense, like I did, that, or whether that was just yet another film in the wheel of.
Oh, well, at the time, no, because I didn't feel, because first of all, I was, I was like a recently divorced guy, and it's kind of like, just because I'm out with this tragic woman doesn't mean that that's the rest of my life. She's just one of my many conquests, the tragic woman being Frank McCluskey. And I dated quite a few tragic women at that time because I was in, well, the thing is, pure and simple, and I harbor no illusions about this. Most comedies are shitty. Most everything is shitty. So if you're going to be a worker, which is what I am, you're going to be in some shitty things.
Right.
And all you can do is be good in shitty things.
Right.
And of course you don't want to make, like if you're in something shitty, you want them to have the shit spray on other people, and only get a little bit on you. So there are some things that you might do that are shitty where you just will get covered in it and you just stay away. Or that will just make your soul hurt too much. I mean, I've been offered things that where the money too is pretty good.
Yeah.
And you really do oh, that money would be nice right now.
Yeah.
But just you could, I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I really might as well just fuck myself on camera. On
Yeah,
the
those
internet,
those are painful moments
Yeah.
as they're happening, because it is at that particular moment in time, no matter where you are, they seem to find that a number, a financial number.
Yeah. That's hard. Where you're just oh shit.
Your brain wraps around it,
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
brain has a tough time letting go of it because your brain is already spending it.
Right. And it's a good living. I mean, this is all stated on the bedrock of all of this is better than working for a living.
Oh, hell yes.
All of this is better than having a job.
It's not a noble profession.
Oh, it's no,
And
no.
it's not a
It's a
job.
racket. It's a good racket.
Yeah.
It's a stressful racket, though.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to a friend of mine, Rebecca Asher. I saw her coffee shop, and she was the script supervisor on Andy Richter Controls the Universe, and she also was a
Please,
yeah, thank you.
please.
Huge fan of this.
She
You're
was,
not wrong.
She was a script supervisor on Arrested Development, and she's also a director. So I saw her, and she was on her way. She's now script supervising on Raising Hope, and I'm friends with some people on that show, so we're just talking about mutual people, and she said, but I'm not working there this week. I'm directing something for Fox, a show that hasn't been on yet. And she said that she got the script, and that it was like some incredibly sexist, like, stripper scene with like midget tossing or something. And
Sure.
she's like, I'm so excited to get this opportunity that I get the script, and she's just like, and I don't know how I can really get that across. I probably shouldn't have said her name now that I think about it. But she's like, I just don't know how I can really feel great about having midget tossing, midget stripping, whatever it was. And we were just saying, like, yeah, it's like, once again, these are luxury problems. But it does seem every time, like, they give you the keys to the car, they punch you in the gut, too. You know, like, here you go, enjoy it. Oh! Couldn't you just left that part out? Like, nope, it's all part of the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
You get the keys to the car, and I get to kick you in the nuts. All right. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, everything. And that's why, like, going back with Conan now is so, it's so crazy good. There's no punch in the gut. There's no kick in the balls. It's so fucking great.
Yeah,
you know?
there's a perfect trajectory, if I may, as a fan, first and foremost, and then as an observant person, and then someone who sort of studied the research preparing for today as a reminder of these steps along the way and specifics. But, you know, those of us who are in the microcosm of comedy, you know, we're well aware of what's been going on with the show, what it's gone through. And if you're a fan of the show, you're heightened awareness. So it seemed to me like it reached a point on the first Conan show for you that the journey had such difficulty in the launch. You know, you guys you had less chance than the little engine that could. It was ridiculous how people went out of their way, whether it was even their profession or not, to damn your chances as a launch. And then to succeed through that was just so much sweeter and so much greater as an accomplishment. So to get to a place of comfort in there and still be a very, very young man, that's the barrel you're staring down and saying, can I do this job for 25 more years?
Right.
And the answer was no.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there and I'm going to date some of these tragic women. And I'm going to work my way through the field with too many minds.
Right.
And suddenly this opportunity comes back around again after I've had a time to be with all these tragic women, and the timing is uber perfect. For me to embrace a home that's new and different than the one I left. Wildly so. And therefore represents a whole new set of challenges. But how rare in one's life, in one's career, I've never heard of it happening, quite frankly.
It's all because of, it's all because of Conan O'Brien. It's all because, there were tons of people that have contributed to the success of the Conan shows. But me being back a part of it is all because of Conan O'Brien just being like a genuinely lovely person who puts, like, one of the things that I've always felt about, and because I see it in other people, where there's like, well, there's the way that you're supposed to treat people, and then this is show business. I mean, there's a separate set of rules where it's okay to fuck somebody over, or it's okay to just look out for yourself and not be that concerned about other people, or, you know, or
sometimes
whatever.
as a way to survive.
Yeah.
You're forced into situations where you have to think of yourself first, and then you either get used to that behavior or you don't.
Right.
But
or where you cultivate relationships and friendships with awful people because you think that it can do something for you. You know, where you don't treat awful people like, not like that you should condemn them, but just like, that's somebody I'm going to stay away from. And I have always tried to keep the same set of rules that I would have in my real life that I would have. You know, like when somebody comes up to me to talk to me while I'm having dinner, I'm not going to be a dick to them. I mean, they may think I'm going to be a dick if I say, you know what, right now, thank you, no. But I've always felt like I don't understand people that can. I don't understand. I mean, I won't. I don't understand. I worked on a movie, and one of the second ADs who was back, because for you out there, there will be an assistant director who just stays at the
Trailers.
At the trailers, and it's just their job to make sure where you are and to send you to set. A big star. I worked with this woman. She told me she'd just come off another movie with a big star. She held an umbrella for him, got him from his trailer for 6 weeks, and he never said a word to her. And I just think, like, how does one do that? Like, that just takes so much work to not acknowledge the person. I mean, just saying hello is easier than not saying hello, you know?
How uncomfortable and sad is that person?
Yeah,
It's
just
an immediate assumption.
crazy.
Yeah.
But
I always say it's easier to be nice than it is to be mean.
You're
It
100%
is, and
right.
it takes
Just
less
easier-
energy.
Yeah,
it
it's
takes
just
less
easier
energy.
to be nice
yeah.
and like if someone's really bothering you, just like be nice, let it roll up your
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
and just walk away.
Try
It's
and
just
get
so much-
away, yeah.
It's just easier.
It's
Or
the
just
shortest.
run.
It's the shortest. By the way, it's also the shortest distance between someone approaching and having a question while you're eating dinner and that moment ending.
Yeah.
The shortest distance is to be nice,
Right.
and give them whatever it is they're looking for in terms
Yeah.
of an answer to a question, as opposed to then discussing.
Right.
I mean, the only shortcut I look for sometimes is the annoying. It's that movie I saw you in.
Yeah.
There's no correct answer, first of all, and I don't enjoy this game show.
No, I don't either.
I mean,
Especially because sometimes I think people, they know what movie they saw you in. They're just, you know.
well, I never make that assumption,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice that they're
when
actually
people
fucking with
are
me.
like, do I know you? And I just feel, you know, and sometimes they don't know me because there are people, you know, they
Sure.
go like, hey, I've seen you, but I don't know who you are. Whatever. But there are people that play some fucking coy game. Just like, just say it. Jesus. And now, like, my wife will get mad at me, or in the past, she's been sort of, because people will say, like, aren't you? And I'll just be like, yeah, I'm Conan O'Brien's sidekick, Andy Richter. Like, because I just feel like I'm going to go to the top of the resume. You know, I'm not going to delve deep into my filmography to try and dig out a nugget that these people might recognize. I'm just like, yeah, that's who I am. Because it is like,
Yeah.
you know, it's uncomfortable. It just feels gross. I'm not one to go like, why, yes, I am.
No,
For me, it's
no.
like, oh, yeah, that's me. You know?
Yeah. No, it's a. So, anyways.
My point was that Conan is a decent guy, and Conan was going into this new situation, and I think
His comfort level demanded.
I think we have a relationship that is basically based on the fact that we enjoy each other's company, we like hanging out with each other, we enjoy being funny together. And I don't think his decision went well beyond that. I think he has enough of a sense of what it was going to take to be on The Tonight Show to where he was thinking, how am I going to be the most comfortable? Because after a while you realize that it's your comfort, taking care of your own comfort when you're starting a show like that is a legitimate concern. Like it is a quality concern. Like that you have to enjoy yourself in a show like that, or it's going to hurt the quality. Yeah. So taking care of yourself in that way. Whereas I think, when we started out, it's like, well, who gives a shit whether we're happy or not? It's like, no, this is not, this isn't a movie and this isn't a sitcom. This is a talk show where you're being yourself, and if you're miserable, it's not going to work.
It's going to show.
Yeah,
it's going to show instantly.
So he offered that to me, and
people think they tune into a talk show because of the guest. They want to see a particular guest, George Clooney, Matt Damon, whoever. There's someone in the lineup.
Right.
That they see but it's not true. They don't return to a talk show unless they like the host. Yeah. It begins and ends there.
Right.
Are we still talking about Conan's show?
Technically.
Okay.
Well, you want to talk about somebody?
No.
You want to talk about Richard Bay?
No, that's what I've been telling Kevin.
Oh, I was making it sound like people were watching right now because
no,
they
but
want
I've
to
been
tune
telling you
into
that
me.
for 2 years, and you've always disagreed with me.
What?
I've been telling you that for years.
That people tune in here?
Because of you.
Oh,
They
because-
love your guests, but they like you.
Oh, yeah, no, you're just wrong.
Uh-huh.
Everyone is always the exception to whatever rule they have. You know?
what
Yeah. You're leaving out the self-loathing.
Yeah.
My apologies.
know?
I forgot about the loathing.
My
rule.
theory
right.
is sound.
I suck.
However, I know people tune in for Dr. Chen.
No, people tune in for like that 2-second glimpse you might get in the crew gag of Negrin.
Oh, yeah, there you go. My bad. I forgot we had the Negrin element.
Yeah, come on. You gotta go right to Negrin.
Yeah. Go with the champ, bet on the horse. My understanding from the research, anyways, was that when building this new show, there was a moment in time.
The new Tonight Show or the TBS show?
The new Tonight Show. There was a moment where Conan was talking with Ross, Mr. Jeff Ross.
Jeff Ross.
About Conan was starting to say that he had thought about it and wanted you on the show, and kept bugging Ross to the point where Jeff finally said, "Why don't you just call him?"
Yeah.
So
That's what they said, yeah. That's what they told me. Conan told me that when he called me.
So that call came out of kind of nowhere,
Yeah.
a little bit.
And I think from what Jeff told me, too, it was just kind of basically, like, wouldn't it be fun to have him around? Which, I mean, I can't be more proud of anything.
Right.
That was the, you know.
The conversation.
Yeah, that
and
was,
the feeling.
because, you know.
No, you're right.
I think that's something to
In
aspire
terms-
to.
in terms of-
to be fun to have around,
In
you
terms
know?
of job achievement and what you choose to do for a living, you know, you want admiration from your peers, you want this, you want that. It's not something you put on the list. So when it happens, it's like, oh, shit, right.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah.
And as
Well,
you say, you guys just like being funny together. That kind of says it all.
Yeah. Well, I've always said, you know, when people would say, like, well, you know, like, how come he keeps, you know, like, well, you just, I think, you know, it was why I was there initially, and I was like, well, if you were going to start a hot dog stand, and you were going to have to stand in that hot dog stand for however many hours a day, and you needed someone to help you, you'd get somebody you liked before you got a hot dog expert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you would get somebody, because you're going to have to be there so long. And
Right.
that's, you know, the people that work, especially in television, you know, where, like for somebody like me who in the last few, you know, when, aside from the series that I attempted, you know, a lot of like guest parts. And in order to keep those alive, you can't be a dick. You know, like you do have to, like, the fact is you're going to be there for many hours.
Right.
And you better be nice. And I'm always feel like with people who aren't very nice, I just feel like, someone's taking note, you know? And you can think about, there are actors that you can think of that you know, worked a lot and then they just kind of go away, and it's sort of like,
Well, you're now approaching an area that is almost parlor game hobby. of mine, which is,
what happened to that guy.
well, but also you have to factor in there's no rhyme or reason, there's no justice,
Right.
there's no logic.
Yeah.
And I used to chant during the low times in life years and years ago when I was just trying to get any sort of audition even.
Yeah,
I used to chant as a way to combat the lack of logic or justice.
yeah,
We're talking 20 years ago. I would chant, Chachi's a millionaire, Chachi's a millionaire, Chachi's a millionaire. Because this kid, early teens, walked onto a set of a successful show and became a household name in 3 minutes. Nothing against him.
right.
But there was no rhyme or reason or no justice or no necessarily winning of a competition or earning of a thing based on years and years of work. It was just the way it works.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you have to embrace that, along with
yeah.
all the rejection that you got to get through to
Right,
survive.
right.
There's this kind of no justice, no rhyme or reason. And then when Dickheads Succeed, which would be a show on Fox for sure.
Yeah.
It's astounding
Yeah.
because some of them continue well into their late years, Rip Torn, after making a crystal clear wake behind them
Yeah.
of experiences and reputations.
Yeah, no, I know. There's an exception to every rule, but I think
Yeah.
generally,
Yeah, you can burn bridges on the way up,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you have to come in with your hat in your hand and beg for a job.
right.
And that certainly happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, like we were saying about, and also, you know what? It's in who you are.
Yeah,
So, if it's insecurity that drives you to be a bit of a prick because you don't feel you deserve happiness or success,
yeah,
that's kind of sad. If you just revel in the fun of being a prick, that's another sort of, oh
Right.
God, Hitler is funny. But if it's just in you to kind of be, if we're not having fun, what the fuck is the point?
yeah.
That becomes, I think, its own energy that spins with you through
Oh yeah,
through
absolutely.
the journey as well, and kind
absolutely.
of a reputation. You know who's fun. You know who's funny and fun.
Yeah. Well, I have, from doing guest spots, I've been on TV shows, and it will happen occasionally where you get to a TV show. And it can be a comedy even, and you show up and you very quickly you realize, like, these people don't really seem to be interested in having a good time.
Isn't it weird?
Like, what the fuck are you doing this for?
Isn't it weird?
Why don't you go make microchips or something? Don't do this.
Yeah.
And
it's supposed to be a funny show. Yeah.
there's no fun at all.
It's one thing if it's a set for a drama. and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are in character.
Yeah.
Or the hours are just too
Although
long.
even then, I would.
Yeah.
I would-
Even then you wanna
then,
shake people and
What
go,
the fuck?
"Come on."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did the show that Rob Lowe was in right after he left The West Wing. It was called The Lion's Den.
Sure.
It was like a legal drama.
You better believe it was.
And I played a ripped from the headlines character.
All right.
Which, remember, his name I think was Steve Bartman, and he
Chicagoite.
He fucked up a Cubs game.
No.
There was a
By catching the ball?
remember
he
that guy?
grabbed it out of Moises Alou before he could make the out. In the
Yeah,
end.
yeah. And then the
Poor
Cubs
bastard.
ended up losing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you played that guy?
I played that
version.
guy, but a version of that guy, but to make it into this thing so that it was like a legal story, which it's just an absurdity. The newspaper had printed my name and address.
Uh-oh.
Which, like, can you imagine this kid, Steve Bartman, like if the Chicago Tribune headline, Steve Bartman lives at, go throw dog shit at, like what fucking newspaper would ever do that?
Yeah.
But whatever,
We're having
okay.
a contest here
Yeah.
at the Chicago Sun-Times. How much do you hate this guy?
Go get
It's
him.
time to
Go
find out.
get him.
Put it to the test.
But,
His address is.
so I had scenes with Matt Craven.
I love Matt Craven.
And David Krumholtz.
Love them both.
was in the show, and they we had to do like these scenes, and like I remember one line because Krumholtz is really mad at me.
Is he an
because
attorney? He's a regular on it?
They're attorneys, yeah, and he's really mad at me because he was such a diehard fan of this team, and I fucked it up for the team. And so there's all, he's trying to be, it's all legal and stuff, and I'm kind of a dick. But then he finally is like, why did you do it? Why did you do it? And I say something like, because if I thought if I caught that ball, my son would think that I hung the moon.
No.
That was my line.
That was your moment.
That was my, yeah. And he's like, okay. But honestly, saying that was more embarrassing to me. Like, and I don't mean like it's poorly written or anything. I just mean like for me, for what I do, having to do that was like Amy Sedaris, from working with her, she and her brother always used to talk about something being choir. Which means like sentimental or just uncomfortably emotional.
Right.
And so that was their word for everything that they didn't want to, just like, get away from me with your feelings.
Yeah.
They'd always say, that's choir.
Yeah.
And that, I felt so choir, going, yes, he hung the moon. Thought I hung the moon. Because it's just like, oh, Jesus, are you kidding me? But on that show, I was trying to have, because the way these things work, for those, you come in to block a scene and you work through it with the director. I mean, I'm not telling you, but
Sure.
you work through it with the director, and then you get the blocking down, and everybody's, and I'll do this, and I'll turn here on this line. You get that done. There's just a few of you. Then they bring in the key personnel, like lighting people, so they can see what the action's going to be because they got to know where the lights are and what you're going to be wearing and if you have to pick an apple up. And then you have the whole set watch so that everybody knows what's going to be happening in the scene. Well, you end up doing it 7 or 8 times, and by the 7th or 8th time, I feel like they've all seen it. I think I'll fuck around. And this place, it was like, wow, what are you doing fucking around? Like saying your line with a fey voice or something. And it's like, come on, people, let's have fun.
Yeah.
And I definitely got the feeling they weren't used to that there.
Set him on fire.
Yeah. It didn't stop me, but, you know. Because I do feel like, come on, people, we're all magicians. Do we really have to ooh and ah? You know, like, please.
The answer is no, sir.
Yeah.
To bring the
and by
audience,
that, I don't mean we create magic. It was a metaphor. I know what you're thinking.
Can't you follow the metaphors by now, people? One of the things we do on the show is to ask a rapid-fire series of 5 questions.
Yes, no, yes.
This or that, Coke or Pepsi, no correct answer.
Okay.
And they are called Tweet 5. Cue David Keckner.
Oh, David Keckner.
How funny is this son of a bitch? He's ridiculously funny.
Yeah, I love him. I've known him for 20 years now. We've been friends. We were in groups in Chicago.
Yeah.
The Comedy Underground. we were in the Comedy Underground together, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we've known each other for many, many years.
Yeah. Loves to play stupid.
I love him.
He loves to play a character that's just an absolute hick stick.
Yeah. He is pretty dumb, too.
Well, technically.
Yeah.
Behind a podium or behind a desk?
Behind a desk. Well, no. You know what? Behind a podium, because you're standing up, and I think, you know.
And leaning.
Yeah, but definitely having something cover most of the shame parts is good.
Tour or talk show? Did you enjoy the tour?
I did like the tour, but it was just enough.
Yeah.
2 months was just enough. I don't like hotel rooms that much. It's fun, like, and believe me, you know, like when I have a family, I have 2 kids, I have a wife, and there are those privacy moments can be like, all right, I can do whatever the hell I want. But then after about a day, it's kind of like,
Where's my family?
I get to do everything I want. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New York or L.A.? Really?
They're both, you know, honestly, probably if I dropped a load of money on me and I didn't have to work again, probably New York, actually. You know?
Kimmel or Fallon?
Oh, God. I'm going to pass on that one.
And waffles or pancakes? Be very fun if you passed on this one, too.
Well, now I can't.
Now you can't. Taking that away
No,
from
I
him.
can't. Oh, God damn it.
They're so different. They're like apple. Because waffles
I know, but
are
they're
crispy.
the same batter. Maybe
I know,
a little
but
bit of
waffles
oil.
are crispy, and then you know you
Think
can
about
like,
it. They're
put the
different
syrup in
crunch.
a
Now,
little
here what
bit,
I'm
Different
going to
textures.
But I'm going to go with like the worst version. And
Okay.
I do think that the worst pancake is better than the worst waffle.
Interesting.
So I'm going to say pancake.
You can't lose with a pancake. Well, how better
Wow.
do you feel? What a load off.
Wow. I think I may be shitting right now. That's the relief I'm feeling, but
Let's
I'm not
dive-
sure.
While I have you in that place, in that very
Oh.
magical place. By the way, the last one was from Dean at Dina Cole. This one from at Ryan_Cleveland. Let's just dive right into another one.
All right.
Superior or Erie?
Superior.
Maple syrup or puppies?
Puppies.
Will Ferrell or Will Arnett?
Will Arnett.
Jeopardy.
Fuck you, Will Ferrell.
Finally!
And Jeopardy or running charades?
Jeopardy.
Let's talk about Jeopardy, sir.
All right.
You are a champion.
I was.
Yeah.
I am, yes.
Forever. No, you get that crown
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. And then the one bad thing about the tour is that it kept me from the Tournament of Champions that I just did because I won just this last year.
Yeah.
They did an elimination tournament. Were you in it?
No.
But you've been on Jeopardy before.
No.
Oh, you never have? I thought you were.
One of the reasons I want to talk about it
Oh,
is
okay.
because we have a friend that's now insisting that I do it,
You would be horrible.
and I would really be horrible.
Really? Why?
Well, because I would
You're
do
like
this.
Homer Simpson.
No,
you
no.
Would get
She's right. I'm like Homer. I would have the thing, and I would go, I know this. You can't do that on that game.
Right.
Yeah, there's a thing in there that stops information
No, you
from
just
coming
say
out.
everything slightly wrong.
And then there's that aspect. That's what you meant by the Homer.
Yeah. That's
The Lord of the Winks.
Yeah.
I mean, rings.
She's not wrong. I have become my father in that regard.
Yeah.
It happened about 5 years ago, and there's no stopping it.
Yeah.
Or turning it back.
Yeah.
So
Was your father Norm Crosby?
no, but I will give you not malprops. No, I would.
Yeah.
I would.
Just
on the set of Willow,
Yeah.
I introduced him to George Lucas, who produced it, and he met him by saying, "I really love DT." Nice to meet you. I really love DT. So let's move on.
Oops.
It's definitely an oops. Definitely an oops, and a great moment for me.
Yeah.
He was wait a second, sir. He didn't mean to say. Okay, so walk me through the Jeopardy experience, and we'll lead up to you not being able to compete in the Tournament of Champions, because I really am sort of uber interested. I don't want to. Well, it's too late. Make too big of a thing out of it. How interested I am in the process and the experience, and what led you to first deciding to do it, and and then doing it itself.
Well, the first
Always
time I did
lifelong
it.
fan. You always watch the show.
No, I do like Jeopardy, and I am a smarty pants and enjoy. I mean, I know lots of stuff that I don't, Trivial Pursuit kind of. I've always been good with that kind of stuff, and know things that, like, shit comes out of my mouth, answers to things where I'm like, I'm not even sure that I knew, that it was.
Wisconsin.
Eugene
Your brain likes to
McCarthy or whatever.
collect pieces of information and stores it. By the way, the important part, stores that information beautifully,
and comes out.
and it's just there waiting for you.
Well, and I also too, I think it's a moment of, I know, like, for me, I probably have ADD. I mean, it wasn't something that was really diagnosed in my day, but I think I have it. But I do have the ability to focus for short bursts of time, and I think that's why, like in Jeopardy, like I can be just thinking about what's the next question, spit it out.
Nothing else.
And I have that ability to do that with this, in this capacity. The
Which is crucial.
compartmentalization
It's crucial.
And it's not, I didn't work at it or anything, but it just, like, I just happened to be able to do it.
You're good at that, or you're not.
And I, the first time I was on, it was on the old Conan show. It was probably about like, it would have been like 1999, I think. And they taped a bunch of them in Madison Square Garden. And
They said, "Hey, come on down."
they asked if I wanted to do it, and I said yes. And then we also shot a remote for the Conan show about doing it, so we were backstage and stuff. And it was really, I mean, we were doing this remote, and kind of for me, luckily too, is Jonathan Groff, our head writer at the time on the Conan show, had been a legitimate 5-day Jeopardy champion.
Holy shit!
Like, had won for 5 days. And he had been do you know Jonathan Groff? Yeah.
From the show.
Not
from Jeopardy.
But he was, so he's also, he knows a lot,
And was telling you do great.
Yeah, and was kind of coaching me and stuff, but like giving me like just little tips and stuff. Although, like, when I was done, he said things to me like, "It's interesting to me, you didn't ring in unless you knew the answer," which I thought, why the fuck would you ring in if you don't know the answer?
'Cause you could
Which
lose.
I guess it's like a tip that they give you or something. I don't know, but I was like, no, I'm not going to ring in if I don't know. But I ended up winning that one, and handily, which
In '99.
yeah, which was really fun. Because Brian Dennehy was on the panel, and he was kind of a competitive jerk with me, and kind of
Nice.
Yeah, was like kind of giving me digs and shit, and like at the time was like I guess on camera he had said he said like we were, and I didn't remember this. One of the writers who shot the bit with me reminded me that he was saying something like, "Well, what's your like?" I said something about I'm a little tired because I was at work late last night. He goes, "Tired for what you do, talk show?" And I was like, "Well, what have you been doing? That's so great." And he goes, "Last night I was on Broadway, the big one, Death of a Salesman." I guess he was in Death of a Salesman.
The big one.
And yeah, and he's like, "The big one, Death of a Salesman." And I went, "Well, that's just talking."
And 98 minutes. And by the way,
Which I
about
don't
2
think-
hours.
Yeah, which he was just like, I don't think he even heard me, but he just was really like dismissive and kind of, it just seemed like he thought he was going to run away with it.
He was
And,
doing the big one.
Yeah, it's the big one. The big one. Death of a Salesman. Which, like, that's in itself, like, to say, say, stage actor, what are you doing now? Oh, I'm doing the big one. And like anyone is supposed to go, oh, Death of a Salesman? Like there isn't
I always thought
you know,
was
yeah. Oh, you mean Kiss Me Kate? No. Oh, you mean Whose Life Is It Anyway? No.
You're in town?
You're in town, yes.
The
The big one. The big one. So that, got that. And also a really lovely prize package of Sony Electronics.
Did you?
Yes.
Genuinely lovely.
Well, yeah, it was though. Although, because Jon Stewart was on the episode, they shot him back to back, so we were there together, and we were talking about because he knew somebody that had been on Celebrity Jeopardy in prior years, and they said that it was like there was some dollar amount, like $50,000. It was like some absurdly large dollar amount, and apparently in the years past they had just given you a Sony catalog and said, pick until it adds up to 50 grand. But our year, and we were both bitching about it like fucking babies, like, where? This is not the $50,000 worth of Sony gear we thought of. And in fact, my wife had because we just got we all got the same price package of all these different electronic things, a TV and a camcorder and all this stuff. And we were complaining that's not the same. And when my wife came in and found me adding up the retail prices of all the things that we got,
we're not doing
to
that.
See if it was actually added up to $50,000 or whatever, or $25,000. I think it was $25,000. Maybe it was just 10. I don't know, but no, because $50,000 would be insane. But at any rate, I was adding it up to see, and I was like, see, it doesn't even. She's like, you got to stop that. That's really gross what you're doing. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Okay, it is kind of gross. So
from 99, though, to this last year.
This last one, then they asked me again, and I was kind of confident, although this time was an invitational elimination tournament, where there were 9 different episodes of it that would be spread out over a year, and then the 9 winners then broke down into a semifinals that then was a final. And the semifinals and finals were going to be shot, 8 months in the future, and they were like, can you be there on that day? And I was like, yeah, I can be there. But then it ended up being that I was in Edmonton, Alberta, playing in a big tent in the parking lot of an Indian casino.
Was there a part of you
there
that wanted to go to the organizers of the tour and say, you got to let me go back and do this thing?
I kind of said to Jeff Ross, because I was like, oh, that's right on one of the my Jeopardy thing. He's like, oh, that's too bad.
Yeah,
I guess I have my answer. Yeah. But so I didn't get to do it. But I would have liked to have had a chance to, because it's
sure.
Because I won again, the one that I played again. This time it was with Wolf Blitzer and Dana Delaney, and Wolf did not do well. People made a big deal about that, which I didn't. I felt terrible for him because it's like you say, it's you can either do this and spit out the answer, and I just don't. I think there is an aspect of Jeopardy that people don't really know, and it is an athletic competition in terms of thumb reactivity. It really is like who's got the quickest thumb, and you are looking at
knowing the answer when you ring in.
Yeah,
instead of just ringing in,
or just it's forming, and by the time I get there, I'm gonna, I'll be able to spit it out. But there also is kind of a pacing thing because you can't, they say they mentioned it a little bit, but there are these lights that are like the lights on a drag strip, that go down until it's and now you go. And it has kind of a beat to it, like when
looping?
you do, yeah, exactly, like looping, which
On
for
the fourth
people at
beat.
home is, when you fill in your dialogue, you go into a recording scooter to fill in your dialogue. If it's screwed up or something, you'll go in and replace your dialogue. And the way you do that is you put on headphones and you hear beep, beep, beep. And on the third one is when you're supposed to talk. They line it up to that. So this is kind of the same thing where you're watching these lights go down, and then, you know, now I can ring in. And if you ring in before the lights count down, if you ring in too early, you get frozen out. So, I mean, I would sit there and you can hear the other contestants
clicking.
Click, 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 click before it's even gone. And you kind of want to say, weren't you listening? You know?
But you don't want to help your competition.
Yeah.
That Jane Curtin's lucky you weren't there, my friend. Lucky.
She didn't win, though.
Didn't she?
No, I think Michael McKean won. That won the whole deal.
I thought it was Michael McKean.
I love how they're all comedians because they're the smartest.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Funny equals smart?
It's true.
Well, and also, I think funny equals being used to drawing from varied references.
Yes.
And
that's what
having
it is
them
for
at
me.
your disposal, whereas, like, Robert De Niro doesn't have to do that very often, you know, under the gun. Or Wolf Blitzer, for that matter.
Let's return, sir.
To where?
To all the prep work of launching the Tonight Show on the NBC.
Yes.
They having built that beautiful place,
Yes.
not knowing that the backroom deals would be slowly realized when things did not work out in the 10 o'clock time slot for Dr. Chin. And the first time while you guys are settling in, you're 6 months into the run, I'm sure, before there was any rumbling within the inner office. Whatever the time period was. The first rumbling, do you remember that something's going on?
Yeah, it was when...
Or was it just Conan gathering everyone and saying, I need to tell you something?
No, because it was all based on. I mean, there was nothing, nothing that happened behind the scenes that clued us into anything in terms of us. There was just a day. We knew something had to give. We knew something was weird, and
you knew that 10 o'clock wasn't working out for the other guy.
Yeah, and that the affiliates were going. Well, we were hearing because the local news was doing so poorly, and that really hits the affiliates where they live, because for people that don't know, the way it works is that during the prime time, the affiliates, they get a cut of the ad money, but when the local news is on, they get 100 cents out of every dollar that they make during that half hour. So the local news, is a big money maker for them. And it was down in some places 50% in the country, and they just, that's real money to them.
So while
it's
they're
putting them out of business,
while they're screaming, let's go back to dramas in the 10 o'clock hour.
Or fix it. Just somehow fix it. Fix it. I mean, that's all that was coming dribbling through to me.
But I imagine at that point, the inner conversations around the office place would be, yeah, it didn't work out for Leno. Those idiots, should have never put him there. It was a ridiculous idea.
Yeah, but we're all
interconnected.
We all know, like, there's not. Nobody, I think, was subscribing to any kind of, there's going to be a surgical extraction. No one was subscribing to any kind of notion of that. We knew, like, something's got to give, and who knows what's going to happen. And then the first that we heard was there was a morning where it said Leno's been canceled. There was like internet leaks about Leno's been canceled, which people were kind of whispering about. And it wasn't, for us it was, whoa, what does that mean for us? And then later in the day.
Same day.
Later in the same day, it became, no, Conan got canceled.
On the internet?
Yeah, on the internet. Jesus. It's like, it's Conan that got canceled, because Jay's actually going to take over the Tonight Show again. So we were hearing that and like, what the hell's going on? And I think that was the time when Conan then, had like meetings with us and said, we don't know what's going to happen. And I think I'm not forgetting, but it all happened like right up to each other. And then they had the meeting with him where they said, you're going to go to 1205 or whatever it was. And he came back and told us, about the 1205 scenario. And we had meeting. He told the group of us, and then the smaller group of us went to his dressing room and talked it out. And and I always was I was of the fuck 'em school from the beginning, because I just felt and at the time he said I was the first one to say this, because one of the first things that occurred to me was that they're going to fuck up a 60-year precedent in terms of when the Tonight Show comes on, just out of like temporary convenience, So and then he just
Was there a
he
sense?
continued in a very brilliant manner. I mean,
No, he certainly did.
I have
I spoke about
rarely
it.
in my life have I been around somebody who did the right thing in a difficult situation, and not in any kind of like magical way. Just really well measured, well considered, good decisions based on just human goodness.
Yeah, no, I have 100% agreement in that exact logic. And I went on this show in the opening and kind of geared it all towards, it's the single bravest and most certain thing I've ever seen happen in show business across the board since I've been following show business from a wee age, in terms of there's the right thing to do, and then there's the right thing, however thing to do. There's all these levels of that decision.
Right.
It's never that clear.
Yeah.
It's never that pure as it was in the way Conan made it. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't agree more in terms of the intelligence behind it. So you were saying about the 1205 when you said temporary. That's a new thought for me in terms of, I want to ask further if you don't mind. Were you saying this could only be a temporary fix for them by putting Jay on at 11:30 and us on at 12:05? This can't lead to anything good for us? Or were you saying this is no way to run this outfit?
More that this is no way to run this outfit, because all of the decisions were made based on short-term putting out fires.
Yeah.
Which as I go on in life, like my mother was a small business owner. My stepfather was a small business owner, and seeing them, like, there's no business plan. There's just show up to work, and if you get customers, you do that work, and oh shit, something went wrong here. We got to deal with that. There's no plan. It's just, it really is
Series of small fires.
of putting out fires, and it's that way at NBC. It's that way probably at CBS. Some places are better than others, but when I got into the adult world, I realized all these fancy people that seem to know so much and that throw money around. No, they do it the same way as my mother does. Like, oh shit, I forgot about that thing. Oops. Well, I can't say I forgot. I've got to make up some other story, but just take care of it and then go back to putting my feet up. And from the beginning with, Conan had other opportunities. All right, in 5 years you can have the Tonight Show. Okay, whew. Well, that's finished.
By the
5 years go away. Jay doesn't want to leave. How about 10 o'clock? It's all just go sit over there and be quiet for a while. And putting Jay on for half an hour and then us coming on with the Tonight Show.
But also the blatant...
you could tell, like, that's not going to work.
The blatant... you bring up the 5-year wait.
Which ended up being 6.
The patience and professionalism that it took on Conan's part to agree to that and live through it. The only way you agree to it and live through it is to anticipate at the end of which the job is yours.
That it's going to happen,
That it's so to go through all of that, then to have the small fire being put out by NBC the way they chose to put it out, was one of the biggest, oh, by the way, fuck you. That I think informed, or so it seemed, this incredibly intelligent, calm decision that Conan made, which is, no, what you're doing is wrong, and I can't sit here and allow it. And, but no one is ever that brave. That's why I kept insisting on using that word.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at some point you go, that's how I feel, that's what pisses me off, and here's the reason, and I'm going to tell everyone in my circle,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're going to stand by me, and I know they know that I'm right, and that's fine, because I still have to take
Right.
care of everyone
Right,
and do this
right,
thing,
right.
which is a show.
Yeah, yeah.
So that to take it to that next step, saying, you know what, we put on a pretty great show here, and the Tonight Show is not living up to what it promised to be. Unbelievable fucking heartbreak and disappointment. The future is ours. I'm sure we'll end up someplace else. Let's find out.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how it was.
I think so. I think it was.
This is horrible.
I think it was. You know, the Tonight Show, as an idea, was very important to Conan.
Sure. If you do that job.
Yeah, it was very
was
important
to Dave.
him. And I do think that it really kind of offended him that it was
Absolutely.
going to be kind of messed with in that way.
And it should have.
But it also, I think, became the point in which he decided, I don't want to work for these people anymore.
That's
Just that. I don't want, you know what, I don't want to, because there was always a certain level of, you know, Conan had relationships with some people in that organization that were very good, but then there were other people that were never that nice.
right.
Never that respectful. And then they came and went, but I'd say, you know, the attitude towards him was always, I think he was probably taken for granted by a number of the people there. And I think that this was just the kind of the point where it's like, you know what, enough. I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah.
You know, and thank God it all. I mean, because we're, honestly, and I don't mean like, because we're having a blast, but we're having a blast.
Well-
and it is like,
It's showing, and there's a sense of freedom
yeah.
and empowerment,
Yeah.
dare I say, that came with this move.
Absolutely. Well, and Conan owns the show too. I mean,
Let's not forget.
that's real empowerment.
Yeah.
Real. I mean, that's the definition of empowerment.
Yeah.
And we never would have owned the show. And I mean, I say we. You know.
Sure, sure.
But I don't have any ownership.
There's no
in it, but
ownership available.
There would be no ownership of the Tonight Show. I mean, and it would still be.
And at the end of the day, the Tonight Show was ruined by NBC in that day as an institution. The whole public watched this thing unfold, and the
Yeah.
whole public's opinion, it will matter to some and less to others, changed
Right.
about the Tonight
Right.
Show. And in almost every way, to a certain generation, the Tonight Show died with Carson. And then the next generation, the Tonight Show, those people who loved Leno and that amazing job he did,
Yeah.
when he left and went to 10 o'clock, they were upset.
Yeah.
So the Tonight Show itself had changed in such a way that Conan, you guys brought in your audience to that time period, and they were very happy when you guys showed up. And then NBC had its own machinations that didn't work out for them, and they pretty much said, we're going to take the Tonight Show, and then everyone was like, oh, well, then the Tonight Show is just not the Tonight Show, is it?
Right. Right.
So now, whatever the fuck it is that Jay's doing over there at 11:30, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, that's the NBC show.
yeah.
This is the CBS show.
Yeah.
This is the TBS show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at some point, it's a late night talk show.
Right.
And it's all demographics and compartmentalized for the audiences anyways. It's all niche.
Right.
All of entertainment.
Well, and it's all changing too. I mean, the whole notion of, you know, our band is called the Basic Cable Band, and there have been some interns on our show who don't know what that, like, what does basic cable mean? Like, they're not
wow.
even
Good
that
point.
sure about, like, what does that mean, you know?
wow.
Because
Yeah.
to them, it's just another channel on the dial that says 500 numbers, you know? I mean,
or more specifically, it's another thing they watch on Hulu the next day.
yeah, or wherever, yeah. So I think, like,
Well, in this case, TBS puts up their own episodes, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah,
really
well,
smart.
ours, yeah, and our web portal is our
Right.
thing too, you
And
know.
Team
So that's
Coco.
another thing that we get to do with the intangibility or the tangible benefits of there's no corporate overlord.
Yeah.
Where it's just like we're standing right here by the tube that sucks the information out into the world, and we just put in there whatever we want
Yeah.
without somebody going like, "Let me have a look at that," or "We'll get back to you," and we'll have a few meetings with 10 or 12 irrelevant people, and they'll give you your recommendations, all of which you will ignore, you know. So it's certainly wasn't necessary. You know, it wasn't like a pleasant experience, but it certainly has worked out for the best. And I certainly feel.
Having come out the other end into this wonderful place that you guys are now, then now it feels like, wow, we were just all a part of this historically awkward moment in television.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that we've come out the other end.
The whole historical aspect of it does still seem like I read that the Bill Carter book that's about it, and it did feel just as it was happening. I still can't quite believe like that I was part of.
That the world was watching?
Yeah, and I'm reading a book about stuff that happened at work, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
It was a Tuesday.
Yeah, I remember that. You know, it's crazy. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
To be a part of that. And I remember telling people at the time, like, you know what it's like to be in the middle of a historic showbiz blow up? Every minute still has 60 seconds. You know, I mean, it's just like, yeah, go to work, and wow, it is stressful and weird, and oh, we're going to do a pre-tape where people shoot at us. That's funny. You know, you just kind of keep going. It just becomes your life.
Right. You stay in the now and you live through it.
Yeah.
But I meant just in retrospect, those are the moments where you can look back on something and see it as a thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to being in the thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's when the rest of us saw it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But for you personally, while you're in this new home and there's this playful sense once again, I wonder, is there a part of you that is able to look back and go, oh yeah, there was that? Well, I guess when you're reading the book is when it's happening.
Yeah, when I'm reading the book.
That's when it's real.
Yeah, and and then we do sort of, I mostly am just living, and I don't think a lot about it in some sort of meta way. But,
no, not until someone like me points it out.
Yeah, until it's pointed out, or we talk about it on the show, or somebody says something about NBC, or then it's kind of like, oh yeah, right. But it provided for like a really amazing year of terms of like, monumental stress and unsurety. I mean, I never was that worried because I just knew that Conan would be able to go get something somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that we'd be working somewhere. So I wasn't really worried. The biggest worry that I had, and I think that anybody had, was that he might decide, like, you know what, I think I'm going to write a novel. Which he certainly could have done. I mean, he could have done, but he never would have, because
once you have that.
Well, there was the responsibility of all these people, especially all these people having just moved.
Right.
I mean, like 60 people moved across the country.
And their families.
Yeah, and their families to do this show. And I don't think that he could, in good conscience, it would be just so unlike him to go like, you know what, guys, I'm sorry.
I'm going to be by the pool writing.
Yeah.
I got to do this.
Yeah. I don't see him doing that,
Yeah.
But the tour was like something that just like, when the hell am I ever going to get an opportunity to
spectacular?
Yeah, like travel
As
with a big,
go.
Rock comedy show,
Yeah.
And I say rock just because it didn't feel like
We went and saw it.
touring with at the Gibson.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was really
It was so much fun actually to see everybody on stage like that.
just a fun, silly experience of going to these different things. And
Yeah. Who came out? Who were the celebrity gigs? Was it John Hamm? One
Jim
of them?
Carrey.
Jim Carrey, yeah.
Carrey.
Oh,
John
and then there was
Hamm
like a
and
catch-all.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
And, McBrayer, Jack McBrayer.
Yeah, for the Chuck Norris lever. Yeah. Yeah.
Fun and playfulness and silliness.
Yeah.
And is there a sense now at the new home of, as you were had just briefly described it, just a sense of, all right, we went through the worst of it.
Yeah.
And now there is something called ownership, and
Yes.
now there is a branding sense
Yes.
for TBS.
Yeah.
So they must be extremely thrilled, if not grateful.
I think that they're looking at this as, and they're not looking at it they're not looking at it in this. This is probably a semantic difference, but I bet you they're looking at it as, this is where TBS becomes a more dominant force in terms of original programming. which to me looks like the dismantling of the old order.
It is.
Like where the big three or the big four becomes less and less big.
When AMC branded
know.
itself with Mad Men and Breaking Bad,
Right.
and prior to them, FX branding
Right.
itself with Nip Tuck,
Shield and Nip Tuck.
and
Yeah, yeah.
Shield, USA before them with
Right.
Monk, and so now we're at a critical mass,
Right.
Where oh yeah,
If you could, I'm sure that there's probably somebody tracking this, but just like the shows that I know that people talk about, kind of the ones that are like you got to see this one, you got to see that. It's like, it's Mad Men, it's Dexter, it's
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it's Breaking Bad. It's all it's all these channels. It's like there's not a lot of people,
Talking about
of the Ghost Whisperer or what, or what, I mean, I think there are still people that like watch the Law and Orders, but I don't really know of like big network shows that people are really into right now. I guess Lost, that was a big one, but
For the people who, yeah, you're right. There's a sense of an audience that there's a tradition of the Law and Order type shows
Yeah,
that
yeah.
brings them almost a traditional comfort,
Right.
in a way.
Right.
And that's what TV represents in terms of escaping for them at night.
yeah,
And then there's a sense of discovery.
yeah,
And for the people who look to TV for discovery, it's not the three networks.
right,
In any way, shape, or form.
right.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Unless they enjoy a new game show. And then they're
That's
going to
right.
Fox.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
You go to Fox, where we crush people with money. Isn't that the point?
That's what we do. We drop it on their heads. Yeah, it's really
Ah!
weird. Yeah, if they can live
I'm a millionaire and I can't feel my arms.
whatever money you can physically take home, it's an odd way to do it.
Yeah.
But we said, what the hell? Are you enjoying yourself on Twitter?
Oh, yeah. I like Twitter. I got on Twitter originally because I played during the All-Star game. They have a celebrities and legends softball game that I
Right.
had done last year, and then I did it this year down in Anaheim. And a guy from the Conan show that was kind of setting it up had called me that morning and said, hey, they want you to live tweet from the game, and they got a new, it was right after the iPhone 4 came out. Like, well, they'll give you a new iPhone if you live tweet from the game. I was like, well, let me call you back in 5 minutes. And I went and opened a Twitter account, okay, sure. But then there was no iPhone after all. So I
What?
just, no iPhone.
Shit.
MLB screwed me out of it.
Lied?
iPhone. It's fine. I just would have given it to my wife anyway, because I won't use AT&T. Verizon for me. And then I started it, and it's, you get a couple drinks in you, think of something funny, write it down. It's fun, it's fun.
Did you know there's a new game that's swept the nation called Who Tweeted?
I hear the sound of the broom right now, sweeping the nation.
If there were a graphic,
Right.
you might understand.
Oh, there we go.
What the hell is happening?
Look at that.
Oh. Now, did a fan make that?
Oh. Did a fan make that? No,
The guy who built our
Jeremy
site, Jeremy R. Scott.
R. Scott.
okay.
built
Did
that.
it. Hey, Andy.
Hi.
How are you, buddy?
I'm fine. I like your purple clipboard.
Thank you very much. It came from Jamie Foxx.
Sammy, what are you doing here?
Why, I am the host of Who Tweeted.
Are you?
I am. But
It does
before...
definitely have the dynamic of where you're here to take our lunch order.
That's why it's purple.
Tell us about the specials.
The special today is a very quick trip down nostalgia road for me.
Okay.
Almost 11 years ago to the day, about 2 weeks from now, it'll be 11 years. Can we roll that? Just show that little photo we have. If you there it is.
Oh, look
Look at that! Look at that!
Sammy, you're
Oh my God!
Say-
You look young now, but then you looked prenatal.
How is it that you haven't aged a day in 11 years, Andy?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Please. I fattened.
So I was on the late night program, and I was telling a story about how the very first time I met you was at Footlight Records, a great little record store down in New York, and I was like 14 years old. And I was doing some stand-up gigs, but I saw you from across the store, and I walked over, and I was like, hey, Andy, I'm a really young comic, and I really love you on the show, and I hope to be on someday. And you look at me, and you went, oh, okay, well, really nice to meet you. I hope you're on the show, too. And then I told the story on the thing, and you mentioned that you made a very dismissive hand gesture, or that you joked that you did. Anyway, the reason I tell this story now is I just like to tell all the kids watching out there, if you see someone you admire, make sure you approach them, because you never know. 15 years later or so, you may get to annoy them on an internet chat show with a silly Twitter game.
All right.
All right.
And that's the intro for the game today. So here it is, Who Tweeted. It's a slightly different version than you're used to. This would be the Tyra, Demi, or Kim Kardashian version.
Tyra, Demi, or Kim Kardashian?
So Tyra, Demi, or Kim,
Tyra, Demi, or Kim today.
and explain the rules.
Because we don't know what happened in Paris. Now, the rules are simple. I'm going to read a series of 8 tweets. You're playing against Mr. Pollack here. I will read the tweet, and then you ring in by saying your own name. And then I will point to you, and you have 3 seconds to say Tyra, Demi, or Kim.
Okay.
As to who authored
wrote
the tweet.
the tweet?
Oh, so
and,
there's a time element too.
There is a time. I'm
It's
going to give you 3
ringing in.
seconds.
Otherwise, you can't. Otherwise, like I used to do, you'd ring in and go, "Let me see if it
Oh,
was."
Yeah.
no, but I mean, like we're ringing in against each other.
Yes.
It's not that where we both are voting.
That's right. Well, I know
Okay.
you're already fast on the clicker.
All right.
And you only tend to ring in if you know. So this
And I
is gonna be a
say
fun
your
game.
own name.
Sure.
Okay.
And you ring and you get it right, you get 5 points. You ring and you get it wrong, you lose 3. And we're
boy.
playing for that crisp, not so very dancy $20 bill.
Normally, we have air conditioning.
Oh.
It's making it
It's a little
dance.
chilly. It's a little chilly. There you go. Tweet
All
number
right,
1.
8 tweets.
8 tweets, and here they are. Tweet number 1. If you could spray yourself with a non-typical scent right now, what would it be?
Non-typical.
Non-typical.
Andy. That would be Kim.
Ooh, sorry, no. Ms. Tyra Banks. Tyra
Shit.
Banks.
Did you tell him when he gets one wrong, it's negative?
I did.
Yeah,
He
he
loses.
did.
He
He
loses.
did.
It's all right. He'll be all right.
Tyra said that.
Tyra.
Typical.
Tyra, non-typical scent. Non-typical.
Kim's a good guess though, because she has all those perfumes.
Right.
That's why I did it.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
She has like 7 of them already. One of them's her ass. Well, next question.
Tweet number 2. Wow, it's snowing in New York. This is so pretty. I've never been here when it's snowing.
Ring. To me.
Ooh, sorry, no. That was also Kim. I should have pointed out that it's was not the correct version of it's in either point in the sentence. No apostrophes.
Oh, that would have
doesn't
helped.
No?
No.
All right.
We're first.
Well, Demi, I'm sure, knows how to properly
God
punctuate.
damn, I'm 6 in a hole.
It's all right,
here.
you're fine. One correct question, you're right back in this.
All right.
Tweet number 3. Everyone's allowed a really bad day, right?
Kevin
Me.
Tyra.
I'm sorry, no. Also, Kim.
We are 3 for 3.
You guys are really killing it today. Tweet number 4. Tune in tomorrow to watch the CNN Hero Awards. Be ready for an inspiring show and have tissues handy.
Ring. Tyra.
No.
4 for 4.
Jeez, guys.
That was to
this
me.
Is,
That
this
was to
is
me.
not. Yes,
was
that
to me.
was.
What
that
is
was
she
in
in?
fact to me.
CNN Heroes.
Exactly.
That's her bag. She only. Well, I don't want to give anything away. Tweet number 5.
4 for 4. Not a correct answer yet.
I love Thanksgiving. It reminds us to pause, reflect, and express our gratitude.
Kevin Tyra.
I'm sorry, no. We are really. This is anyone's game to throw at this point.
5 for 5.
We are
Wow,
really
fellas.
Fun game, isn't it,
not
Andy?
conversant in dipshit.
That was also Demi.
There's a certain sense of pride getting these wrong.
yeah.
Wow.
Now I'm going to feel like a dick if I get one right.
Tweet number 6. Very topical, this one, by the way. I could listen to James Taylor every day. I hope my neighbors are enjoying him too.
Ding. Fucking to me, please.
I'm afraid not, sir. That would be
Fucking
Tyra.
to me, please.
Tyra Banks.
Shit.
Tyra Banks.
What is she doing listening to James Taylor?
Ooh.
6 for
But
6.
it is a nice callback.
It is alive, and
Very nice.
this was marked.
She didn't
hours
say
ago.
James Taylor, did she? You just.
I
made
might have
it-
added.
Yeah.
I might have added James Taylor.
What?
Tweet number 7.
She called him Sweet Baby James.
Just saw on the news that the coffin that held Lee Harvey Oswald for 20 years sold at auction. Where did he go?
Ding. To me. Oh my God.
This is the first, by the way.
This is we are one question away From not
no
a single
correct
from a
answers.
negative score
Yeah,
being the
but
winner.
there's no way I can win
That's
at this
all right.
point.
That's all
I
right.
don't think.
No, it's fine
No,
because
I
this,
wouldn't.
No, the last one is worth 10 points.
The last one is
Oh, the
always
last
worth.
one's worth 10
Yeah.
It's
points.
always worth
So
10
now it's
points.
So that would
Everyone's-
get me back.
it's anyone's
oh my
game.
God, I could eke it out by
You'd be
one negative
You'd been
point.
only -5 then, and you would be
you would
And you'd be
negative
-6.
This is very
This is exciting.
eighth and final tweet.
See, we found a way to make it exciting. Nonetheless,
For $20 that you both have definitely earned.
6 incorrect answers.
Tweet number 8.
7, excuse me. Tweet number 8.
As much as I love traveling the world, a lot of times I just loving sitting alone in my room with
Kevin
a good
Kim.
book.
He's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just reached a record 8 incorrect answers in a row.
Yay! Was that Tyra?
That was Tyra,
Oh.
in fact. But
Wait a
because
minute.
that was worth
Well,
10 to
wait,
win,
I do win.
You win.
I still win.
A score of -15 to a score of -16. Your winner and your champion, Randy Richter.
Thank you, ladies.
Now I see how you won Jeopardy. It's crystal clear to me.
I don't know. I'm
is
putting
it,
this right in my
Well done,
wallet
sir.
here.
You are quite the gamesman.
Nicely done. See you at the Tournament of Champions.
Wow, that was really tough.
That was impressive beyond description.
You know, but it is like that's a tough game though, because
Yeah,
that is a lot of inane nonsense.
it's an iPhone app,
Yeah.
by the way. Who tweeted?
Is it really?
You better believe it.
Is it one that you guys invented and that you guys are? Nice.
Jamie, I believe you invented the game. Who tweeted?
Are we benefiting
Not
from
that
that? app?
clever.
I think we've sold
Keeping
3.
in
So when you say
Burberry
benefited,
I was going to say something here, and I'm sure you know what I was going to say, but I'm not going to say it.
I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
What was she gonna
I'll tell
say?
you later.
The N word.
Yes! Negrin, the N-word.
Around here, one of our producers. Speaking of continuing the Larry King game, which I spoke of 2 hours ago, and the intellectual properties. What is the snafu there at the TBS?
do you mean?
Leaving the NBC. In the year 2000, does that?
You know, we've talked about like just the other day. Somebody was saying like, would they really sue us at this point if we were to do something? Which I don't think they would.
Which
I
would only
mean,
be good publicity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. There's no real plan in place. You know, occasionally people will be like, "Come on, can't we just the masturbating bear? Come
Yeah.
on!"
Yeah,
in
yeah,
fact,
yeah.
I think we
You already
used the
did it.
Yeah. But I think at a certain point, it's a toss up between wanting to do these things that people like, you know, like these old bits that people like, and also the desire to kind of like, well, let's just.
We've done that.
We really can't, you know, we're not supposed to, so let's just try and challenge ourselves and to start with new things, and then we're not just going to kind of, you know, and try to discover new favorite refillable bits,
Yeah.
you know. But it could go either way.
Well,
Like
I'll
I
tell
say,
you,
it's the same thing. There's no real pattern. There's no real game plan. It's like next week something may fall apart, and we'll go like, oh shit, why don't we just do a year 3000 or year 2000 or year 1900?
you may get nostalgic for it at one point and say, we're having a certain guest on. Wouldn't it be fun to do? Remember yeah, it makes sense at that point. And also it just falls back on, we'll just write something new, as you
Yeah.
said. And I will tell you from the get, what made me a fan was not just the host personality, which is key, or in this case, both of your personalities, but that it's the most subversive, edgy comedy writing in late night for any night of the week, including Saturday, where it's supposedly you reach the apex with SNL. It has been my favorite written show
Oh, thank you.
for subversive, edgy
Thank you.
comedy
Yeah,
from the beginning and all the way through.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Conan is a fantastic, amazing, world-class comedy writer.
Best years of The Simpsons, Jamie?
Conan years.
Yeah.
Monorail.
Yeah. No, he's
Yeah.
he's got a true gift. He's
And I just think it's amazing when he was chosen to host the show, and everyone immediately lit him on fire for saying, "Why are you hiring a writer
Yeah.
who has no on-camera experience whatsoever?"
Yeah.
And in the end, He learned how to be a talk show host while doing the show.
Yeah.
He learned how to bring his strengths to it and his goofiness and his geekiness and to take advantage of all of those
Yeah.
things. All the field story stuff that he does from the winery or wherever.
Yeah.
But also to maintain the writer's mind has served the show and made it ultimately stand out among the talk shows.
Yeah.
Without question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's he's got good stuff. Mike Sweeney's been there he's our head writer. He's been there for many years, and there's definitely a high standard.
Yeah.
There's a good high standard, and there's
The same way
the
that
basic feeling of wanting to not do, like, because for me, a real driving force is always like, I just don't want to do something boring. Like,
Right.
I don't want to make a boring choice, and there's no, because I'm an artistic purist, and
No.
it's just because it just seems cheap and shitty. Let's because also too, you can't get too carried away, because it's not like there's anything that's really, really new. It's all versions of something you've heard before, but it's just like you want to hear it in a different way.
let's make ourselves laugh every time at the back.
I worked on a show once where the showrunner was telling me about, I don't remember what it was. It was like a plot line or a joke or the sort of blow to a scene, like that. And I just said, and I was like, you know what? I feel like I've seen that before. I feel like, and I couldn't place where I'd seen the similar thing. And I said, I feel like I've seen that before. And this showrunner went, I know, right?
Oh, no.
Like, he was like, yeah, like, so it's already been proven that it works.
Oh, no.
Like, and I was like, oh,
Oh, no.
you and I are cut from a different cloth. So, yeah, no, there's people that they like that. They
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah. Why don't you do something like that thing? Well, because it's like that thing.
Yeah.
Why don't I do something that's like my thing?
I have experienced that myself.
Yeah.
Meeting with filmmakers and saying, you're doing this film, and they'll say, it's great, right?
Yeah.
And you just want, oh, no.
Yeah. No, don't
How
want
could
that.
you? And they'll say, there's a whole new audience who never even saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. This tweet 5 comes to you from @pale_thunder. Masturbating bear or insult dog?
Wait.
Oh, wait for the keck. Now with 10% more keck. Masturbating bear or insult dog?
Probably insult triumph.
Yeah, because, oh my.
Oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, we're going to have to talk about the schmig.
Yeah.
Talk show or sitcom?
Oh, talk show. I mean, and that's like, and I'm not really a fan of either.
Tang monkey or Kool-Aid man?
Oh, there's a Tang monkey?
I didn't know.
I think Tang monkey, just because of the kind of, it sounds like slightly pornographic.
So that's your choice?
Yeah. That's my Tang monkey. Get close, you'll see why it's called the Tang monkey.
Improv or scripted?
Scripted. Jesus, if you're going to go to the trouble of putting something out there, you might as well write it down. Mm-hmm. I like improv. I love doing improv, but I'm not the
Purist?
I'm not the ideologue that so many people that I know in improv.
How dare you write this? You wrote that,
Because I do
right?
feel like, and I do feel like, like there are people who are still like, we got to get improv on TV, and I'm kind of like, no, it's because it's always going to seem. It's like magic. It's like a big magic trick on TV. Like, there's a million things you can do to make it look like magic. And like improv on TV, I feel like, if you're going to put it on TV, you might as well sit down and write it.
Why not rehearse it while you're at it?
Yeah, rehearse it and write it and make sure it works. Like all this, I mean, there's definitely is something exciting to watching an improv performer happen.
Live.
But it's got to be live, I really do think, because the enemy of improv on TV is the remote control. Because when people are sitting there, and the improv will invariably have a lull where the players lose place of where they are, and they got to, pick up the slack again, and that's exactly when people would change.
This is bullshit.
Yeah. So I don't, I I love improv as training, but it's not. I don't see it as like a form unto itself, like a lot of people.
Given the launch of a couple of Andy Richter starring vehicles in,
Yes.
in the sitcom world, the Controlling the Universe being one of them, and the so-called advantages and lofty perch of #1 on the call sheet, versus having the sort of abject freedom and fun that you've now reached with the talk show. Mm-hmm. I mean, when that question came up about sitcom or talk show, that's where my brain went.
Oh.
Because...
Well, you mean, well, then I just meant them as forms like unto themselves.
No, of course. In your answer, I could tell. But it seemed to me you guys now have kind of the perfect job.
Yes.
Honestly.
Absolutely.
In show business itself.
Absolutely.
And you don't work Fridays. Mm-mm. It's a 4-day week.
Now it's really sweet. And even then it's less weeks out of the year because TBS has different sporting things, has baseball and I think in March there's a couple weeks off because of college basketball, I think. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, it's nice. It's like the kind of it's what we're all working towards as we go on. As you get getting into middle age, it's like I think I'd like to not work as hard. Now,
well, that may sound good, but
Yeah.
I don't think you're working less hard. I think you do yourselves a disservice. Well, you may feel more lazy.
Yeah.
Than before, when a thriving rehearsing a couple of days a week and then shooting live in front of an audience sitcom world,
Yeah.
or even the single camera aspect of those long crazy hours where you could never feel lazy.
Yeah.
You may feel more lazy now, but in terms of, as you said, let's just not take the easy route on any of these funny bits.
Right.
That part of you and the show has not gotten more lazy.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, definitely
Clearly.
there's
clearly it has.
Well, it's a little. We don't have the burning fire that we did early on.
But I don't think it's about the burning fire, honestly.
The burning fire in terms of there were stretches on the early late night show where every week, I'd realize like I would have worked like 30 days in a row or something, which is unusual for television.
Yes.
Where we do be doing shows 5, and then on the weekends there'd be a remote, or there'd be
some kind of production.
Yeah, or we'd go shoot dynasty-like scenes out at some old mansion on to be cut up into bullshit like nonsense trailers of shows that we never did.
Right.
But we used to, going on remotes, and then you get into the edit room and you edit until 3 o'clock in the morning, the night before it's going to go on the air. And I mean, we don't work that hard anymore because you just can't, you die or something. Mm-hmm. You just have a heart attack. And that's the kind of work that young people do.
No, but
the people in their 20s and early 30s. So now, certainly, if you were to watch one of our old shows, there'd be just a lot more man hours poured into it. So it is like we definitely don't work as hard in terms of as many hours pouring into it, but that isn't to say that it isn't like less funny either, or it's still a good show, and we still, we have standards and we'd like to do it, but it also too is a different show. It has a more casual feel. It is about us being there having fun, I think,
Yeah.
and
Well, that is the sense.
yeah, I mean, and it's certainly making us happy, and people seem to be liking it, so.
Yeah.
Well,
we couldn't be more thrilled for you and the team
thank you.
of Coco.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you so very much for
Sure.
spending a couple hours.
Was proud to do it.
I hope it wasn't,
Happy to get out of the
wasn't
rain.
too much pain involved.
No.
If they're good, because it's time, of course, for your version of the Larry King game where there could be some potential pain involved.
Oh.
Now, that is your camera when you're
All right.
ready. Shall I go over the 3 rules again?
Yes.
Bad Larry King impression,
Okay.
rule 1. We're not interested in a good one.
Right.
We want to see that moment on the air where Larry shares something that we just don't really want to know.
Right.
And then third one, go to the phone. And when you go to the phone, if the name of the city is funny sounding,
It helps.
a little bit.
All right. Okay. I'm gonna do
There's your prop.
I'm gonna say like we're been, but
Sure.
Are you here?
Work me into it any
You're
way you
my
want
guest.
or not.
You're
However-
like Greta Sustern or something.
I'd love to be.
Okay, and I'll be like, well, you know, through my many marriages, I just, I gotta confess, I never was really that big a fan of cunt. Solomon Islands, hello.
We have a winner. No more calls. Pencils down.
Wow. We're almost 2 years in. That may be the first time this C word has ever been.
Really?
We've reached a level of hilarity
I did it!
that
Oh.
only a lazy bastard could come up with. Again, thank you so much,
Because
honestly.
imagine it's him saying that word.
Well, that's the beauty. and
have you
the
ever
joy.
heard? Have you ever? Stern plays like clips of noises that he's made. Like they just have gone through and like horrible clacking denture old man. Like there was one point where he opened his mouth and it just went. Because there was like old man phlegm in his throat or something. And of course that's the stuff that Stern revels in, you know.
Sure.
For Larry. Yeah.
Well, thank you for participating in
Thank you.
our version of our love for Larry. And the whole damn thing. Sit there uncomfortably for just a couple of more minutes while I wrap things up.
All right.
And then we'll get you on out of here. I want to thank the fine folks at the Pita Pit for feeding the entire crew, everyone, in fact, except for our guest. And that would be my fault. Because I refused to let him have the food.
in front of me eating falafel.
It was so weird, right? It seemed inappropriate at the time,
Good.
but I got to tell you, it made me happy. It really did. I'm not going to lie. The crew's been out there for 2 hours and 25 minutes, believe it or not, and I have to wonder just what the hell, with the holidays approaching, they could have done to busy themselves. Oh, it's been raining out there, as I told you. J-Mac, as always, sort of the Wile E. Coyote of the group. He comes in a little wet. Ah, thank goodness. What?
Oh, no,
What?
it's-
Snow?
Is he in a snow globe?
What's happening?
Oh,
Still can't
Open that
escape.
bad boy up again.
It's like the final episode of St. Elsewhere.
It was a little bit. He ended up in a snow globe in the mind of a child.
And I
With,
said,
That's my umbrella.
and Sam's only concern was his umbrella had been used for the
I think
gag.
that was my umbrella.
Wow.
Ella.
Meanwhile, I have to say, I think an audible was called as there was a gift box wrapped.
Maybe they're saving it.
Oh,
What are you gonna blow it
a little
for?
pre-production work being done. All right. Say no more. Say no more.
Jeepers, Mary and Joseph.
All right. We will not be live next Sunday, I should point out, with Billy Bob Thornton. We're going to pre-tape that Tuesday. If you have any questions for him or tweet 5, send them along to at Kevin Pollak or contact at kevinpollakschatshow.com. We'll be sure to offer those up, as we love to do. Pose your questions and tweet 5s to the guests. Going to tweet to remind you of that show. Have a great Christmas. We will not see you until the new year, when we'll start up, I guess, the first Sunday in January. I believe our first guest on the 9th is Stephen Root.
Stephen Root.
So it's the second Sunday because of the, Stephen Root, crazy, brilliant, funny, and just great comedic actor, character actor, like myself, but so much more talented, as you'll see. Yeah, check the calendar for upcoming guests. We've got some amazing ones, which Nathan Fillion and Lisa Kudrow. Dave Thomas, Lauren Graham. There's a whole bunch.
Farrelly's.
Not the Wendy's one, because he's dead, you know.
Farrelly
No, we're
brothers.
getting
Actually,
Dave
it
Thomas
is
from
the
Wendy's.
dead
Oh my
Wendy's
God.
Dave Thomas.
Yeah.
Creepy.
But cool, though.
Save him for Halloween, though.
We're going to pre-tape. You're not wrong. We're going to pre-tape Dead Wendy's Dave Thomas for Halloween. There, I said it. I was trying to hold out, and he busts us. Guilty as charged. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year.
Tip Top Tet,
Tip Top
Solemn
Tet.
Dignified Ramadan.
There we go.
A dignified Ramadan?
Please.
At our house, it's never dignified.
Yeah. In fact, that's what we wish you, an uncomfortable silence during your Christmas dinner. To you and yours, until next time we see you, and as always, get out of my face.
He's all of the rainbows, but none of the rain. He's dry, but he's an alcoholic. He's hosting this train wreck He's careful.